The season got underway in Nogaro. Riquelme Nortelli, having won the qualifying race, started on pole position on Easter Monday. Bernd Schneider was looking to make up progress in the early stages in his bright yellow Mercedes SLS, and everyone was safely through the first corner, unlike the day before. There was some side-by-side action as the Fact Auto Porsche got pushed out wide, and Rob Bell had made a good start in the 55 McLaren. Schneider was still trying to track down the cars in front, but he was coming under pressure from Marco Seefried behind in the 333 Rinaldi, and then the Porsche got bullied a little bit more, knocked out wide. Nicky Melnoff was pushing hard, as was the 77 BMW Team Brazil car of Martin and Muller. They were the first to come into the pits in their battle for the race lead with the number 2 Audi of Christopher Mies and Enzo Eid. It was a good pit stop for the BMW Team Brazil, and then Christopher Mies came in, pushing incredibly hard on pit entry. The WRT team, as ever, doing a great job in the pit stops, getting Enzo Eid back out in the lead of the race, just in front of the 77 BMW. But Dirk Muller was now at the wheel, and he was on a mission, overtaking Enzo Eid for the lead of the race. Stefan Ortelli would then pass Enzo Eid for second position and would try and hunt down the car in front. Battles were raging throughout the order. The 75 ISR Audi doing battle, while James Nash managed to go around the outside of the 70 SLS. Things weren't looking quite as good though for the 54 McLaren. Jules Simkowiak being spun out and onto the grass. The battles rage still, as the Fjordbrag brothers started to slip down the order. They would end up finishing down in 12th position, but winning the Silver Cup. It was nose to tail for the lead of the race at the end, but the BMW Team Brazil squad hung on. Dirk Muller and Maxime Martin taking the Brazilian team's first ever victory in the Blancpain GT Series after 3 years of trying. It was delight on the podium for them. It was second for Riquelme Nortelli, third for Mies and Eid. And now we come to Brands Hatch, one of the most iconic racing circuits in the world. It's set to be a fantastic weekend of GT racing action. But before we get underway, let's hear from some of the top contenders. After missing the opening round in Nogaro, the regular drivers return for BMW Team Brazil. Valdeno Brito and Attilo Abreu are in the 77 car, whilst in the 0 car, it's Kaká Bueno and Sergio Jimenez. Bueno actually won the race in Stock Car Brazil that he missed Nogaro for, and now he's looking to get his teeth into the Brands Hatch circuit, where they had success last season.
Yeah, it's my third visit in Brands Hatch. I raced here with WTCC. Last year with this championship, we make 2 podiums in a day. It's a very good circuit for us. I hope we keep this pace, keep this moment, and keeping the car in the podiums. If you have some track, possible win, the Brands Hatch is the track.
At WRT, Riquelme and Ortelli will be looking to go one better than their second place last time out. They're in the number 3 WRT R8. But in the number 4 car is Frank Stippler alongside local man James Nash, and he's looking for a good result in his home race, a circuit on which he has plenty of experience in the British Touring Car Championship.
The Audi is particularly strong everywhere, you know, any track we go to. It is very strong on corners and not so strong on the straights. Balance of performance makes that happen. We have a very, very strong lineup with all our other teammates, so to be top of the tree in this team is very, very difficult. But that's always our aim for me and Frank, so that's where we're going for. And I think we have a good chance this weekend.
There's a newcomer to the series this weekend in the 54 Attempto Racing McLaren. Fabian Thuna, the Swiss driver, will partner regular Philip Blazik. In the 55 650S, it's Kevin Estra and Rob Bell, another Englishman with a lot of experience here at Brands Hatch, and he thinks that the car should suit the track.
I believe the 12C round here was pretty competitive, and I think we've made a step forward with this car. It'll depend a little bit on weather conditions, but we certainly come in sort of feeling that this could be one of our stronger circuits, because a couple of quick corners, Hawthorns, Paddock, some really iconic corners that I think we could be strong through. So we're certainly looking for a better result than Nogaro. We come in full of promise, myself and Kevin are looking forward to it, being on home soil for McLaren. So absolutely, you know, we're looking onwards and upwards.
The MRS GT Nissan showed strong pace in Nogaro, but they couldn't quite get it together for a good end result. It's looked quick again here in free practice, and so it should be a good weekend for local men Sean Walkinshaw and Craig Dolby. But despite it being their home race, neither have that much experience of the circuit.
I think this is my third time or third ever race at Brands Hatch, and Sean's second race at Brands Hatch. So we're both kind of, even though it's our home race, we're rookies to it really. But it's a track I think we both enjoy driving. We've both done the briefing and the sim. We've said that we really enjoy it, and I think it will suit the Nissan GTR. So I'm just looking forward to it. I can't wait to get in the car and show it what we can do really.
At the GT Russian team, Alexei Karachev and Bernd Schneider will be looking to carry on their strong performance from Nogaro in the 70 car. Surprisingly, this is Bernd Schneider's first ever visit to the full Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. Marco Asma joins the series in the 71 GT Russian SLS, the Estonian having plenty of experience here from racing in British F3. He'll be alongside Alexei Vasiliev.
Of course, I'm happy after first our win in first race. Of course, we have a potential for next for this weekend, but now my old new teammate Marco, he was with me in beginning of last year championship, and now we drive this race with him.
It ended up being a pretty disastrous Friday for the Bentley HTP team as Maximilian Buch lost the car on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, smashing into the barriers. The German, former Blancpain Endurance Series champion, naturally disappointed, and that was the end of the weekend for him and Vincent Abril. That means it's up to the 83 car to keep up Bentley HTP's hopes, Olivier Lombard and Jules Simkowiak at the wheel.
Well, it's amazing, the place, really I like it. It makes me think a bit of Nordschleife as well. In the forest or like into the old area makes it really cool. Unfortunately, we didn't do the first free practice at all because we had an ABS fail and I went straight in turn 6. That was a bit unfortunate, so in the end both of us haven't been to Brands Hatch and only done the second free practice. Makes it all a bit harder, but was good anyway.
The second round of the Blancpain GT Sprint Series sees the cars head to Brands Hatch in the United Kingdom. We've got the qualifying race coming up for you in a couple of moments' time. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in the commentary box is John Watson, and down in the pits we have Bruce Jones ahead of this 1 hour qualifying race that will set the grid for the main race coming up later on. And it's 15.7 degrees, the air temperature here at Brands. It feels a lot hotter already because the sun is beating down on the circuit, 24.5 degrees. The track temperature, a bit of Union flag bunting as well for the spectators that are about to watch. Let's have a look at the grid then ahead of the race. Pole position is Laurens Vanthoor in the WRT Audi. Nicky Katzberg alongside him, very surprised with that qualifying performance. First time he's been here in 8 years. Christopher Meade and Craig Dolby are on the second row of the grid. Then it's the two BMW Team Brazil cars looking to consolidate their lead after a superb performance last time out in Nogaro. Seventh on the grid is the 888 BMW, a one-off entry for Brands Hatch from the 888 racing team. Norbert Siegler will start in 12th place in that bright green 333 Rinaldi Ferrari. Marco Asma and Philippe Salaquada are on the next row of the grid, ahead of Simkowiak and the Stefan Ortelli, Stefan Rakelmi pairing, which is going to be one to watch, with Vlasic and the Fjordbrack brothers completing the 18-car grid. The lights come on here at Brands Hatch. We get ready to go racing, and when we will, it'll be 1 hour of frantic action around the Grand Prix circuit. We go racing, and it's a very good start from Katzberg on the outside. The rear-facing camera there from the Ferrari further back in the pack, but it looks as though Laurens Vanthoor's going to hold the lead of their race as they drop down through Paddock Hill Bend. Katzberg's hanging on around the outside, but Vanthoor still has the inside line. For Druids, they're going to go side by side all the way around. Vanthoor now consolidates the position up at the front. It looks like the Nissan has made has dropped back a position. Also the 888 BMW of Joe Osborne has managed to get past both of the BMW Team Brazil cars.
And Joe Osborne looking to move down the inside, going into 30s. Craig Dolby doesn't let him do that. Dolby had hoped to make a better start, try and get ahead of one of the two cars ahead of him and try and challenge Laurens Vanthoor. That hasn't happened so far.
So this is the look back to Marco Asma's Mercedes on board with the 333 green Ferrari that's looking towards the inside there. Not quite close enough, but there is the 888 BMW Z4. Great start then from Joe Osborne. He's up into 5th position. A few little darts back in the pack, but no one able to quite make a manoeuvre just yet. And look at that, Stefan Ortelli's dropped to the back of the field now, so they're really not getting it hooked up so far this weekend. But it's Van Thor leads. He was on pole by 0.4 of a second. From second back to ninth, was separated by the same amount. And there's a look up the inside from Marco Asma, and the Ferrari's gone wide and is in the gravel. Not good news there for Norbert Siedler, and he's going to drop to the back of the field now.
Very lucky not to end up on the wall, because the grass has been slippery all weekend. A lot of rain fell before the weekend got underway, and it's still up at Stirling's Bend, still a very moist part of the racetrack, but the grass bit is anyway.
There's Robin Freitz watching on with Stefan Rattel, and there's a dart to the inside line, the Bentley forcing its way through. Great move from Simkoviak. He goes past Marco Bononomi in the ISR Audi as they now run up towards Druids. But at the end of lap 1, it's Laurens Van Thor leading the way, second Nicky Katzberg, and into the pits comes the Ferrari. I wonder if they had a front right puncture then, because they did just seem to run wide without making a mistake, so I wonder if it was a puncture.
Well, the Mercedes got alongside going into Stirling's Bend, maybe forcing the Ferrari, hit the curb aggressively, could be the reason the tyre got cut down, of course.
Here's a look at the replay of the start. Van Thor on the inside, Katzberg holds it all the way around the outside. Goodness me, what I think that was Ortelli, was super close to the barriers at pit exit, and Katzberg did well to hold it around the outside, but couldn't quite make any progress. And Joe Osborne's passed the Brazilian BMWs by the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, so he just must have got a rocket start.
Well, I think part of that is just the local knowledge of the racetrack, knowing where you can and cannot place your car, particularly in the opening lap when you've got traffic all around. You make your own luck, you make your own space, and that's what Joe Osborne did. He went from the 4th row of the grid, 8th place, all the way up to 5th.
Yeah, and this is the view back from Norbert Siedler in the early stages, coming up into the hairpin at Druids. And they're all getting very busy behind, and I think there was a bit of contact there between the McLaren and one of the ISR Audis. And oh goodness me, that was a bit of a visit from the Fjordback Audi. No, I think that was Bononomi actually. And then this was then him running wide later on, we think, with a front right puncture. This is the battle continuing. Over 15th place, Marco Bononomi in the ISR Audi. ISR switching over from single-seater racing, and a look to the inside at Graham Hill Bend. Nicely done from Stefan Ortelli. Bononomi holds it around the outside. They're going absolutely side by side down towards Surtees, but Ortelli's got the overlap now, and he should be able to get that job done. Bononomi still hanging on around the outside, but there goes through Ortelli into 15th place. A nice move.
Let's look at it again. Tries to recover, but it's too late. Look how far off track Bononomi has gone. Had he regained that position, it's possible he may have been penalised for that, because that's one of the no-nos here at Brands Hatch, not to use more than 2 wheels off the track, particularly in Graham Hill Bend.
As Craig Dolby comes down into clearways.
So this is a battle that's beginning to heat up as the pit stop will be, or the pit lane will be open in 30 seconds. And I just wonder whether they're going to keep Craig Dolby in the car and keep the pressure up on Christopher Mies, or whether VW or the Audi WRT team will bring Mies in and hand over to Enzoid. I suspect they're going to keep both drivers in their positions probably until the latter end of the 10-minute pit stop window.
I'd, if it was me, I don't know what I'm doing, of course, but I'd
stick to the commentary.
Pit Dolby and put Walkinshaw in some clear air. But then the guys have got to figure out where they would come out after their pit stop, because if they were to come back out in a battle further back, it could be more difficult. In comes Stefan Ortelli to hand over to Stefan Riquelme.
And that probably is the smart move for Audi to make. Again, it'll all be about where will Riquelme rejoin the race, and hopefully he will benefit from making that rather early stop and getting out in what will be relatively clear air, because more and more cars will be taking the opportunity in the remaining, what's 8 minutes, or just under 8 minutes, as the number 3 Audi makes its way down the pit lane now. Riquelme behind the wheel, and he's got relatively clear air ahead of him, and he's not really being bothered by anybody behind him. So it's another one of the Audis, the number 2 Audi. That's Christopher Mies and Enzoid.
Into the pits comes the first of the 2 BMWs, Valdeno Brito, coming in to hand over to his teammate Attila Abreu. There is Attila waiting, and the BMW Team Brazil squad waiting as well. They won the pit stop challenge a number of times last year, and will they be able to do it again today? A quick pit stop can win you an awful lot of time.
Actually, you know what? to make the sport even more entertaining, maybe there should be points that are added into the championship for the best pit stop of the weekend. Why not?
Well, suggest it. Well, I
I've
guess you
done
just
it.
have.
I've told the public, I've told the world.
So out goes Attila Brun. Now that looked like a pretty quick pit stop actually, as they come out onto the circuit once again, and they should be well clear of the McLaren of Kevin Estre. But now Robin Freins is lurking, looking ready to get and take over. We've also got a battle here between Norbert Siedler, who's just managed to get past Thomas Fjord back, and so Norbert Siedler now is up into 13th position. Now, will we see Laurens Vanthoor here, our race leader, coming into the pits this time around? It looks as though Robin Freins is ready to take over as he comes into the final corner now, the Belgian driver. In he comes, the defending Blancpain GT Series champion over the two, and in the endurance champion. So that means that Nicky Katsberg stays out and moves into the lead of the race. The gap was 7 seconds at the end of that lap, or the previous lap before Vanthoor came in. And now Freins will take over. Yeah, they've come in literally midway through the pit stop window, whereas Nicky Katsberg is going to stay out longer. The possibility being that he will lap and use so much, such as the clear air that he has. He was not really in dirty air when he was running in second place, as we see more of the field filtering through as the bulk of the field really taking the opportunity with 3 minutes to go before the pit stop window closes. Yeah, so I would anticipate this lap that Katsberg's on, we will see him in. Now this is going to be a fascinating pit stop battle, because this is the 0 BMW, the 6 Audi and the 70 Mercedes, and when they came into the pits it was in that order, 0, 6 and 70, the order in which they are in the pit lane now. So if they go out in this order, then no one's gained or lost anything, but if someone can get a jump, then there may be an overtake, but I think it's going to remain the same. The GT Russian car is having a very, very slow pit stop up at the back. It really doesn't look like Alexei Karachev's getting away at all, and that's really lost them a lot of time. Yeah, Bernd Schneider just put his hand down to the driver's door. I don't know whether he was indicating to tell him to get a move on, or whether there was maybe an issue that he wasn't comfortable with, but there is current lead car. Is it coming in this lap? No, you're right, Jacko. Yes. One more lap. One more lap and for Nicky Katsberg. He's got 2 minutes, which he can do it in very comfortably indeed. So they're taking the maximum opportunity to keep Nicky Katsberg behind the wheel. And then it'll be the opportunity for Albert von Thun and Taxis. Joe Osborne's in as well. The 888 guys have got a lot of work to do, because they're used to British GT Championship racing, where you have a minimum pit stop time rather than going as quickly as possible. So out goes Enzo Eid. He's going to emerge, in theory, in 3rd position when it all shakes out. Away goes Dolby, and with Walkinshaw at the wheel, is he going to be in front of the Brazilian BMWs or just behind? He might be able to get past one here as they come down towards the right-hander. No, not quite. So he comes out behind the 77 and the 0 car. So that's positions lost for the Nissan at the during the pit stop window. They came in ahead of the Brazilians, and they've come out behind. Yeah, that was disappointing, because the number 3 Audi also came in just ahead of Craig Dolby. They had a really quick turnaround, got Enzo Eid out, and I don't know what caused the driver change and wheel change on the Nissan, but a position lost for the Nissan down to 5th place effectively once the whole pit stop window washes out. So I think it might be 2 positions lost, because both of the Brazilian BMWs have got past. So in now comes Nick Katsberg to hand over to Albert von Thun and Taxis. I don't think it'll be too much of a battle for the lead, because it was a 7-second advantage when Laurens Vanthoor pitted to hand over to Robin Freins. Freins is getting held up a little bit by the McLaren in front, and oh, that's going to be a bit of a tight exit there. And they just about get away with it. There goes Freins through to retake the lead of the race. And in 2nd place now should be Albert von Thun and Taxis as he makes his way out of the pit lane. It's going to be pretty close though, because Enzo Eid is on his way down. Look to the right-hand side there. That is Enzo Eid, the car in 3rd position. So there's our race leader, Robin Freins. He's now got a 10.8 second advantage over the 2nd place. Oh, and there's forceful attacking from Lee Moll, and he and Alexei Vasiliev end up in the gravel trap. A real shame for the pair of them. Looks as though Vasiliev is out of the race, and it was Lee Moll on the attack into Druids. and that's Vasilyev's race over, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at, we just caught the end of it where the BMW and the Mercedes came into contact. Let's have a view looking back. So it's the Mercedes who's ahead. BMW comes up the inside, and well, that was a bit,
he was
sort
quite
of
far
almost
alongside.
self-induced, I would say. It was a little bit aggressive and trying to close the door. The BMW was there legitimately. They hadn't even reached the corner, and he was trying to squeeze the BMW, and the contact inevitably occurred. And I would imagine there'll not be any action taken against Limo for that particular incident. Keep an eye on Rakelmi. He's trying to line up the Audi, thinking about a look. He's not going to do it into Paddock Hill Bend. His best chance again is going to be into Druids, where we saw one lap ago the Mercedes and the BMW get into a battle for track position. The BMW came off the better of the two. Stefan Rakelmi not capable of doing anything this time. Probably might be able to lap overall quicker than Lee Mole in the BMW. Again, not into Graham Hill Bend. The next opportunity comes into Surtees. Pretty easily defended to prevent an attack going down the inside. He's looking down the inside. He brakes late, gets the position, but can he maintain it? He's, oh, the BMW just managed to keep the momentum around the outside of Surtees, but now overall straight line pace, the Audi's going to be marginally ahead. It's going to be interesting who comes out of, well, Hawthorne is going to be clearly Stefan Rakelmi, but he runs wide. He didn't really get an apex, but no chance for Lee Mole to come back. We've seen some outstanding overtaking manoeuvres, but other racetracks make it easier than they do at Brands. Looking to see the long way around the outside going into Stirling's and the cut back up the inside.
Yeah, this is the battle over 7th position. Kevin Estre in that white McLaren on the right-hand side, trying to get past Nicky Meyer-Melnoff. He's up alongside on the run down the straight towards Hawthorne. Meyer-Melnoff will hold it on the inside line. Estre will go around the outside at Hawthorne. Great move from the Frenchman. Here's a look at the replay of where it all...
Well, I mean...
Nicky did this last year. He ran wide and lost
that's what I'm
position.
saying about Nicky. You're never really sure whether he comes to a corner what you're going to get. Kevin Estre saw that. He put himself into a position. Meyer-Melnoff went to defend up the inside, gave Estre the opportunity to come around the long way, and there we see that's one lap later. The gap, what, just over a second.
And it's lights ablaze for Sean Walkinshaw, who's a team owner as well, runs Sean Walkinshaw Racing, which competes in other championships, including the BRDC Formula 4 Championship, as they come down into Paddock Hill Bend once again. And after the race, we'll definitely have to go and see what happened to them when they lost that 4 seconds in the first stint, because if that hadn't happened, I mean, I know it's all ifs and buts, but they'd be in the battle for second right now with the sort of pace they're showing. And in fact, these three are all closing in on second position at a rate of about, well, almost a second a lap.
And again, just going back to this battle for second place, Von Turnen Tax is running now at a comparable pace, whether he's delaying Enzo Eid or not, but the battle is for that second place. And Enzo Eid, who's caught up relatively quickly, can't translate that into a pass and take second place away from Von Turnen Taxis.
On board we go into Hawthorne's again. And oh, he's got past, so sorry, he's got past the BMW Team Brazil car, and he is up into 5th position. Good move, I presume, from Walkinshaw. I missed it.
Yeah, we didn't see it on camera. The Bentley has stopped. Is that coming out of Graham Hill Bend? It is. Has spun coming out of Graham Hill Bend, getting back underway. Olivier Lombard, who's really hustling the Bentley Continental along.
And now Walkinshaw's got to defend.
Yes.
He's got through into 5th position, but he's got Caca Bueno very frustrated now that he lost that place behind him. And Walkinshaw will try and sprint clear. This is going to be why Olivier Lombard spun.
This
is he
was
going
an
to
assist.
get
I bet you it was an assist.
A bit of a bonjour from Rakelmi. Oh.
Yeah, that may get the attention of this, because again, that was no way was the pass possible, and it just banged into the right rear corner, left rear corner of the Bentley, and Olivier Lombard was in no position to do much about it. So Rakelmi may well have blotted what was actually a very impressive run.
Drive-through penalty for the second place car. Albert Von Turnen Taxis has been given a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Whether that was pit in or pit out, uncertain, but it's a drive-through penalty for the 88 Reiter Engineering Lamborghini, and that'll be a real frustration for them because they're running in what is a reasonably comfortable second position, but a shake of the head from Hans Reiter. So into the pits comes the 88 Lamborghini of Albert Von Turnen Taxis to serve his drive-through penalty. This could be a good opportunity for Walkinshaw. The move could be on for third place. He's tucked right up behind the BMW as they come through Pilgrim's Drop now. He goes a little bit more narrow into the corner. Is he going to be close enough to look to the inside at Hawthorne's? A little covered to the inside, not quite close enough. Craig Dolby there is desperate to pick up a podium. Absolutely nose to tail. 77 is the Brazilian Attila Abreu. Right behind him in the big white Nissan is Walkinshaw. Is he going to be close enough? Coming up towards Hawthorne. Looks to the outside line. Outside at Hawthorne's a brave one. Looks for it. Can't quite get it done. Will try and get the cut back, but that could compromise him because Caca Bueno is not too far behind in the 0 BMW. But that's the sort of attack that Walkinshaw has got to try and pull. But he couldn't get it done that time around, and it's the inside line really into such a quick right-hander that you need... Craig Dolby can't bear it, can he? But here is our race leader, Robin Freitz. He and Laurens Vanthoor are going to take victory in the qualifying race at Brands Hatch, their first win of the season in Blancpain Sprint. Enzo Eade and Christopher Mies are going to make it a 1-2 for Team WRT. They'll have a front row lockout for the main race, just in front of Attila Abreu. Then Craig Walkinshaw finishing in 4th position. 5th place for Caca Bueno. Kevin Estra couldn't quite get it done for 6th. There's Nicky Meyer-Melnoff across the line for Phoenix Audi in 7th position.
Robin Freitz, congratulations. You said before the start of the race you'd only done 10 laps at Brands Hatch. Looks like you've known it all your life.
Well, I have to learn a lot from this boy here. He's quick, but car's good. Team did a good job during the entire weekend, and finally we had a deserved win.
Laurens Vanthoor, you put the car on pole, a dominating run. Got a good start, just again dominated. What do you have to do, or what does anybody else have to do to get ahead of you guys?
No idea. I think we're just a good team. We work well. So we do our work the best we can, and that's what we get on track.
So Robin, pole position for the start of the main race. Any thoughts about thinking forward a couple of hours?
No, I just see what happens. I don't think to think forward, you know. Start is everything different. Always, not always the same. So just see what happens in the first corner is the most important thing.
Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So great to hear from our race winners, and hopefully we'll be hearing from the second place guys in a few moments' time. Well, here we go. Christopher Mies and Enzo Eade are down, speaking to John Watson.
Christopher Mies, that's a good morning's work, isn't it?
Yeah, so far so good. Qualifying race, we finished 2nd. It's a good start for the championship race, but the main points are in the race later on. So yeah, we'll push harder there. Car wasn't as good as in qualifying, but I'm sure the boys will find it and we'll sort it out.
Enzo, you were charging all the way under pressure, but at the end the Lamborghini was penalised, so it made it a lot easier, but a great drive nonetheless.
Yeah, thank you. It's true. The cars behind me catched up quite quick, but I was also with the Lamborghini in the fight, and in the end, okay, I managed to stay in front. And like Christopher said, nothing happened yet. It's only the qualifying race. It will be this afternoon the most important.
Here's a look at the results after 42 laps and 1 hour of racing at Brands Hatch. A 26.5-second winning margin for Robin Freitz and Laurens Vanthoor. Incredible performance from them ahead of their WRT teammates Enzo Eade and Christopher Mies. But that fantastic battle from 2nd down to 6th place is going to resume instantly when the main race gets underway, because it'll be the drivers who finished that race starting the main race. And now the winning trophies for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz. Victory in the qualifying race. A couple of points for them, but more importantly, pole position for the main race later on, and a chance to get their championship not even back on track, just on track after not picking up any points at all in the opening race of the season. Well, what a great opening qualifying race that was. After the race, it was a real shame for the second place car of Christopher Mies and Enzo Eade. They were demoted 30 seconds down the order because they committed a penalty in the pit stops. They released the car before the mechanics were back behind the safety line, so that means they're going to be starting well down on the grid. But a superb performance from Robin Freitz and Laurens Vanthoor. They will be starting on pole position for the main race, which is coming up in just a couple of moments' time now. It's time for the main race here at Brands Hatch. The Blancpain GT Sprint Series about to get underway here at Brands Hatch. The main race coming up after an enthralling qualifying race earlier on. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in the commentary boxes, John Watson. We've got Bruce Jones down on the grid and perusing the pit lane today. And after an entertaining qualifying race, hopefully the entertainment will continue in this 1 hour sprint race we've got coming up a little bit later on. It's Robin Freintz and Laurens Vanthoor who will be starting on pole position on a beautiful day here at the Brands Hatch circuit in Kent. 18.7 degrees the air temperature, track temperature of 21.4. It really is a beautiful place to be for a motor race, just as it was in Nogaro in the opening race of the season on Bank Holiday Monday. Alongside me in the commentary box, John Watson, a man who knows this Brands Hatch circuit very well, and it's a great place to have the GT cars, John.
Well, Brands Hatch, the Grand Prix circuit is a great racetrack, and while it now seems actually quite small compared to when it was being used in the era, what it offers up to drivers is a chance to drive on a racetrack which actually has elevation. It's got really, really demanding corners, some of which are blind apexes. It's a circuit about confidence, commitment, and once you get the rhythm of the circuit, it is really a circuit where rhythm is probably the most fundamental of all the values that you might have. Really satisfying to drive.
So we can hear from Craig Dolby. He's down on the grid already. He's going to be starting third, and he's talking to Bruce Jones.
Craig Dolby, racing at home, you're smiling, but you'd have been smiling even more if you'd been allowed up onto the podium. Sean Walkinshaw brought the car home fourth, but you've just been moved up to third. Explain why.
I think the number 2 Audi had a pit stop infringement, so got a 30-second penalty, so obviously moved us up, which is a great feeling for us because that's kind of what we're aiming at now is podiums, and we've managed to get one in only our third event together as a team and as a partnership between Sean and myself, so we're buzzing, but you know, we've got another hour to put in a good stint and hopefully be up there again and actually stand on the podium this time.
Now, in the last half of the race, when you were on the sidelines and Sean was doing the business, taking on the Team Brazil BMWs, you were a picture of nervous tension.
Yeah, it's strange for me, you know, coming from the single-seater background where it's all kind of I'm in the car all the time. When you're watching the car out and doing so well, and Sean did an awesome job, but you know, I'm just willing him across the finish line. I want to be in that car with him, kind of supporting him. So yeah, you know, every lap he drives, I'm driving it through my mind as well, and you know, we always try and improve, and that's one reason that we do it. Well,
enjoy this afternoon as much as you can. Thanks and best of luck, Craig.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I don't think his teammate Sean Walkinshaw would like a sack of spuds thrown in beside him in the car, because that's roughly what Craig Dolby would weigh. So it would be a disadvantage over all the additional weight. But in the metaphor is there. He wants it. That's the bottom line.
Here's a look at the Nissan GTR, then the twin-turbo V6, one of the few turbo cars in the field. 500 brake horsepower, 650 Newton-meters of torque. It really is a beast, and especially in a straight line, it's performing really strongly around this Brands Hatch circuit, especially the drop down through Pilgrim's Drop and then up through Hawthorns is the real strength of the Nissan, but it just couldn't manage to get through earlier on fighting the BMW. And it's interesting what Craig says there. He's been a single-seater race winner in Super League Formula, but you must have had it too, where suddenly you're doing Le Mans or something and you've got other drivers who are going to go out there and crash your car or something.
I think that's the fundamental difference between being a single-seater driver in mentality and being a driver that's come into GT racing or other forms where you have a partnership. And if you are a single-minded, selfish kind of guy, as most single-seater drivers are, sharing comes with difficulty.
Let's hear now from Nicky Katzberg. A real shame for him in the qualifying race. He's with Bruce.
Nick Katzberg, it went so well in the first half of the race, running in second place and looking very strong. Albert took over, was going really well, but then you got news. Not good news, was it?
No, unfortunately, we were a little bit too fast in the pit lane. Yeah, that's really bad. I mean, we were P2, and it was looking that Albert was going to hold on P2. A little bit too fast, so let's not do it this race.
But the car looks very capable, but starting much further back than you should be. At least you went up one place near the end, though.
Yeah, we should have been P8, but one other car had a penalty as well, so P7 now. But I'm sure Albert is going to bring us in the front at the start.
Well, fingers crossed, the car looks good, and best of luck to the two of you.
Thank you.
I had to give Albert von Turner Taxis a bit of a talking to at lunchtime. He said, oh, it was bad luck that I just didn't quite get the speed correct in the pit lane. Albert, there is no such thing as bad luck. You control your luck. Of all the people in the pit lane, you should know that. He looked very chaste.
Here's the look at a Lamborghini Gallardo, the LP564, the sort of last year really that we're going to see the Lamborghini Gallardo before Reiter move on to using the Huracan. You can see it's 535 brake horsepower, 510 Newton meters of torque. It's the only Lamborghini in the field here in the Blancpain Sprint Series, and it was performing very strongly earlier on. But as we've said, Albert von Tönentax is done for speeding in the pits. Basically, there's 2 white lines at the pit entry, and he went on the first one instead of the second one. And I mean, it is, you know, displayed, and it should be known where, but it's a reasonably easy mistake to make. Hopefully, they'll get more excited when the racing gets going in a couple of moments' time. We can now hear from Joe Osborne. He made an amazing start in race 1, but then they slipped back. He's at Bruce.
Joe Osborne, you should be competing at Santa Pod Raceway. And what a drag start you made to the first race. Up 2 position past both the 2 Brazilian BMWs.
Yeah, funny say, I actually grew up about 10 miles away from Santa Pod, so yeah, just go there a bit. But no, I was lucky the 2 Brazil cars were too busy fighting each other and left the door open for me to do a bit of a sneak attack into Druid. So yeah, I got up the inside and yeah, a couple of places, and unfortunately that's all we could climb up to. Obviously, being a Pro-Am car, we're always going to flatter to deceive in the first stint, and second stint we got the Am in, and he's got a fight against the other Ams out there. So yeah, good start anyway.
But for Lee, it must have been quite, well, very disappointing that the clash up at Druids, and that did it damage the car at all?
No, we were really lucky actually. That little BMW has a little Panzer tank, so it's pretty strong. It just obviously lost us about 10 seconds, and that's where the 70 yellow Russian car got past us, which hurt. But yeah, I mean, Lee's fired up for this second race. We want to make sure that we leave the Blancpain sprint race with at least a win under our belt.
Well, it's great to have you in the sprint series. Best of luck this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Just a quick say hello to Dad. Couldn't make it today. I'll see you later. Cheers.
Just about got his hello in before we faded him down, but yeah, there's Joe Osborne heading to the back of the grid, and great to have them. They're regular competitors in the British GT Championship, but make a few one-off appearances here, and they were doing a great job earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, it is an ideally suited car to Brands Hatch. We know BMW works well on high to medium-high downforce circuits where top speed isn't the criteria, and Brands is almost tailor-made for BMW, as we saw from the results in the sprint race, 2nd and 4th for the BMW Sports Trophy Team Brazil cars.
So this is the onboard with the Nissan, making its way around towards the grid, dropping down into Graham Hill Bend. Through the left-hander, oh sorry, it's onboard with the 888 BMW, my apologies. Of Lee Mole at the wheel, the Am that will be starting that car. As he heads out now into the wooded section, the grid is starting to form and starting to get busier as we look out of the commentary box window, which has a superb view over this Brands Hatch circuit. Can't see this part of the track though, the drop and then the rise again down at the bottom, being followed around by one of the ISR Audi R8s as they make their way around to the grid ahead of this 1 hour race. Both of the front row cars are already pulled up into position, and the tension beginning to rise here at Brands, and it really has been some great racing that we saw earlier on, because it is tough to pass here, John, but mistakes cost you.
Yes, it is. I mean, to make a clean pass, you've got to work it, you know, a long time. I mean, you might have to wait 4 corners in your preparation before you finally find the part of the circuit that lies to your strengths and maybe the weakness of the car ahead. The big thing is keeping your momentum up. If you lose your momentum, then you get bogged down, and then you're running at the pace of the group of cars that you're in. And in a sense, when Sean Walkinshaw made his way up through the field, once he took over behind the Nissan, he got past one of the Brazil BMWs, but then got stalled out behind the second one, and it meant actually that the field that was behind, which included Kevin Estra, who came through really strongly in 5th place, got to a point where he wasn't a million miles away from being able to take on one of those 2 Brazil BMWs for that 4th place.
Yes, and Kevin Estra will be starting in 5th position on the grid, so we had a great 5-way fight for 2nd place at the end of the qualifying race, and it'll be the same drivers in the same cars getting started in this race, so it should be pretty entertaining. There is the Marco Bononomi and Felipe Salaquada car. Marco Bononomi will be starting it. On the front row of the grid though is Attila Abreu and Valdeno Brito, and Bruce is down at the car.
Well, Daniel Brito, best place to start is the front row at Brands Hatch. Attila's taking the start. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are good. Last year, you know, I was in second place until 5 laps to go. I was penalized, something wrong that not happened about the pit stop. We are confident. I have confidence that we can do other podium again. I know that we have too much fast cars behind us, but let's try to do a good pit stop. Let's try to do not make mistakes. We know that Vantors Audi is very fast. Race is race. Let's see what it will happen.
Best of luck to you and Attila.
Thank you.
Valdeno Brito driving the BMW Z4 then here in the Blancpain Sprint Series as the national anthem is played out here at Brands Hatch. The crowd's on their feet, a good crowd for this event, which is only in its second season here at Brands Hatch. It was the first time in a long time that international GT racing had returned, and there was Stefan Rattel observing the national anthem, but the Brazilians not so much.
Yes, of course, just going back to Valdeno Brito saying, or he didn't say, in fact, we got it during the interviews post the qualifying race, that it is Attila Bru's 28th birthday, and the entire team on the track following the race stood around him and sang happy birthday. The emotion of Team Brazil. You know, would you get a British team doing that? You might do.
We'll have to see when it's
let's give
someone's
them the
birthday.
benefit of the
I was
doubt.
surprised you didn't join in, actually. Do you not know it in Portuguese?
My voice, you know, I give all in the commentary, and I have to protect it.
We can now hear from Marcus Winkelhock in the number 6 Phoenix Racing Audi.
Marcus Winkelhock, what can you do from 6th on the grid?
I think everything is possible. I told him not to go too many risks in the first couple of corners. But anyway, I think we have got a good car, and the race speed was pretty good. So I'm really confident, and yeah, the target is to finish on the podium.
There was talk earlier today of a little drop of rain coming this afternoon, but I think we're okay for the next hour.
I hope so. The car feels good in try, and in the moment it looks okay. So I think it should be all right.
Okay, best of luck. Thank you, Marcus.
Yes, in theory there is some rain heading towards Brands Hatch, but it certainly doesn't look like it'll hit in the next hour or so. Looking out of my window anyway, that's all I know. Here's a look at the Audi R8, the number 6 Phoenix car, but there are plenty of Audis in the field. 4 competed by the WRT team, 2 from ISR. The V10 engine underneath the bonnet, 560 horsepower, 500 Newton meters of torque, and it is maybe not the car to have, but it's certainly one of the best out there, and certainly in the hands of WRT. It was unstoppable this morning. They finished 26 seconds clear of the rest of the pack, Robin Freitz and Laurens Vanthoor, and they're going to be starting on the left-hand side as we look at it on pole position. And now it's time to head to the McLarens, and they had a reasonable race in race 1. Kevin Estre couldn't quite make up positions, but Bruce has managed to find Rob Bell, I think, down there on the grid. And we'll be speaking to them in a couple of moments' time. They're going to be starting 5th on the grid with Kevin Estre at the wheel.
Rob Bell, at the end of the race, the McLaren seemed to be the car to have. Kevin Estre really put on a charge to catch that big battle for second place. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. When we're in clean air, we seem to be pretty strong. We've learned a lot this weekend again. You know, we talked about it. It's a relatively new car to this season in racing, the 650. So we're learning all the time. And yeah, absolutely. When Kevin had clear air, he was the quickest guy on the track. When he caught the train in front, then it's a different matter. It's tight round here, but we're expecting a hard race here, and hopefully we can go forward.
How about heroics at the start? We've seen a few people gain places, and that's the only time they do it. How much can you keep Kevin on a tight rein?
Oh no, we let him off. No, we'll let him go. Hey, look, if you can take a few at the start and get your elbows out, then that's the way it is. So that's kind of the approach we'll have, and we'll see where we are after the first lap.
We will. Thanks very much, Rob.
Yeah, that McLaren was really flying towards the end of the session, end of the race. Only 2 650Ss out there, both from the Attempto Racing squad, but it certainly seems to be a step up from the MP412C.
Yeah, it's just interesting, Rob Bell saying when they're in clear air that they really can make the best use of the car. And the McLaren, of course, is a car that derives most of its downforce not from the top surfaces, but from the underneath surfaces of the car. So obviously they're getting some stalled air hitting the car when they get into proximity of competition. So they need to come, catch and pass really without hesitation. If they get stuck behind, then they lose the momentum that they've built.
Yeah, the twin-turbo V8 in the McLaren, it's that and the Nissan that are the two turbo cars, and it's quite interesting speaking to some of the drivers earlier saying we don't like, and the Bentley of course, yes of course, but some of the drivers saying we don't like turbo cars because you put your throttle down and nothing really happens. Now, Bruce has caught up with one of John Watson's friends. Who's down there on the grid, I wonder?
My age anyway.
Bernd Schneider up in the commentary box. John Watson has eyes only for one driver, it's you. He thinks you're the best thing ever down on the grid, but you're starting the yellow Mercedes, or your team is starting its yellow Mercedes down near the back end. What can you do?
First of all, we have to survive the start, but Alexei was pretty much improving in its last stint, and then we will see. Overtaking is very difficult, but we still have two sets of new tires. All the other ones, I think, they don't have any anymore. But anyway, overtaking will be difficult. But if he brings the car not so far back in, I think I can gain some positions.
Now, in the qualifying race, Alexei had a problem pulling away after his at the pit stop. What was the problem?
Yeah, it was a bit strange. When I jumped out of the car, I left the car in first gear. But when he went into the car, probably he touched the pedal, and he was in between two gears. And then he had to realize it, and he shifted down, and it took 5 seconds. But anyway, in the end, we still won the Bohem race.
It's all about learning. Best of luck, Bernd, from the back.
Thank you very much.
That's interesting that Bernd, I mean, he does this time in, time out. They try to save as many sets of new tyres for what is the most important part of the weekend, which is the race. And of course, the benefit that you get on a new set of tyres at the start, and then when you come in and do your driver change and wheel tyre change, can be significant. It can make the difference between being able to go forward for those 3 or 4 laps while the tyre is fresh and giving you those extra seconds per lap, as opposed to going onto a set of tyres that have done or maybe even only 2 or 3 laps. So it's a typical, experience over youth kind of judgment from Bernd Schneider.
Here's a look at the GT Russian team Mercedes SLS, the V8 engine in the front of it, 500 horsepower, 600 newton meters of torque, and it's very good. Out of the corners is the Mercedes, putting the power down. Not quite as nimble as some of the smaller cars like the Lamborghinis and the Audis as well, which are sort of oversized go-karts, but a very different beast to those. But that's the great thing about GT3 racing, is you've got all these different cars and all these different manufacturers competing evenly with different strengths around the circuit.
Yes, I mean, the strength of the series is the fact that we've got such different configurations, but all controlled by BOP, balance of performance.
Let's now hear from Pierre Dieudonné. The WRT Audi squad have had highs and lows today. How's he feeling?
Pierre, people watching the qualifying race would have thought that we'd have number 2 Audi starting from 3rd on the grid, but explain why it's back in 9th place. Sorry, from 2nd on the grid it should have been.
Yeah, well, because we got a penalty during the pit stop. There was a small infringement. The car was released a little bit too early, so we still had one mechanic on the working lane, which is against the regulation, so we got the penalty, which is fair enough.
Okay, but the cars look really good, and obviously for Lawrence Van Tor and Robin Friens, they look in another class to everyone.
Yes, the first race went very well, but the important one with the big point is now, so, we start from scratch again and see what happens.
Well, they're clearing the grid. I guess we all have to leave. Best of luck to Team WRT.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, Pierre's taken it on the chin and accepts the penalty. In fact, I was watching Anzoid as he left his pit box. Had he not maybe been as aggressive on the clutch release, and the back end of the car did step slightly sideways, I suspect no one would have noticed that there was somebody not totally clear or behind the line in the pit lane. So I think it's because of that sort of snappy release that caused the attention to be focused.
And here's a look at the WRT Audi R8 that will be starting on pole position. Slightly different colour scheme for the number 1 Audi now. Lawrence Van Tor and Robin Friens starting the car, and it will be Friens at the wheel on the left-hand side as we look at it. Then alongside him on the front row on the right-hand side will be Attila Abreu starting that BMW Team Brazil Z4. 3rd on the grid will be the MRS GT Racing Nissan of Sean Walkinshaw on the left-hand side as we look at it. Then on the right-hand side is Caca Bueno starting the 0 BMW Team Brazil. Then the next row of the grid is Kevin Estre. He's going to be a man to watch out for at the start on the left-hand side in that McLaren 650S. He's alongside Nicky Meyer-Maunhof, who will be on the outside line on the run down towards the first corner. That car on the left there, the Lamborghini, was running second in the early stages. Albert von Turn and Taxis will be starting that alongside James Nash in the Audi. Next row of the grid will be Enzo Eid on the left-hand side, finished second on the road, but forced to start down in 9th place. He's alongside Marco Seefried. Watch to see that Ferrari make progress up the field too, I would anticipate. Then it's Stefan Raquelme on the next row alongside Marco Bononomi. Then we've got the only Bentley, Olivier Lombard, alongside Alexei Karachev in the yellow Mercedes. Then we get the 888 car of Lee Mole on the left-hand side alongside Anders Fjordbach, who will be starting that ISR Audi. And on the back row it'll be Fabian Tuna in the 54 Attempto car, and that car there, number 71, Alexei Vasiliev, that retired from race 1 after contact and ending up in the barrier. So there's a look at the grid. The green flag lap gets underway here at Brands Hatch, and we are all set for a 1 hour race that could one of the Bentleys struggling to get away on the back of the grid. You can see there our Segway camera almost overtakes it, but he gets going in the end. Just a quick note in case you haven't been keeping up to date with it so far this weekend, the 84 Bentley of Max Buch and Vincent Abril out of the meeting after crashing at the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. Let's have a look at the grid then, ahead of the main race here at Brands Hatch. Robin Freitz starting on pole, Attila Abreu alongside. Third on the grid, the mighty powerful Nissan, Sean Walkinshaw. He's starting in front of Kaka Bueno. Kevin Estre, a man to watch out for in the 650S. He's in front of Nicky Melnov. Then it's Albert von Turn and Taxis starting the right in Lamborghini, ahead of James Nash. Enzo Eid will start 9th on the grid, then the Rinaldi Ferrari of Marco Seefried. 11th, it's Stefan Raquelme looking to make progress up the order with his Monegasque teammate. They'll be starting in front of Philippe Salaquada. Then the one Bentley of Olivier Lombard alongside the Mercedes SLS. And on the back row of the grid, it's Tuna and Vasiliev in 17th and 18th positions.
I'm going to keep an eye out on the cars that are on the inside of the grid going up into turn 1. That's directly behind pole sitter Robin Freitz. And that, of course, is the MRS CT Racing Toyota Nissan of Sean Walkinshaw, but also the Attempto Racing McLaren of Kevin Estre. Now both those cars are turbocharged engines, and what a turbocharged engine can give you is a lot of torque. And in a rolling start where you're running at relatively low engine RPM, if you can get those turbos spinning sufficiently, then they've got an enormous amount of initial thrust up the hill, up into Paddock Hill Bend, whereas a normally aspirated engine, you need to keep the revs higher to reach the best power part of the power curve. So I think inside the Nissan and McLaren, and I would suspect that Kevin Estre, because he is a bit racy, will be looking to make any possibility into a position change.
Around the final corner come the cars to start the 1 hour main race here at Brands Hatch. It's Robin Freitz on pole position in the WRT Audi. Alongside him on the front row is Attila Abreu. It's Sean Walkinshaw and Kaka Bueno on row 2 as we wait for the lights to go out here at Brands Hatch and the racing to get underway. 1 hour of action begins now, and it's a great start from Vanthor. The Bentley looks to the inside, isn't quite close enough. Almost clipping the barriers there was Kevin Estre as he looks to the inside, and he's going to get through into 3rd position. No, not quite. It's 4th for the McLaren. So that means that the Nissan's dropped back a bit after a rocket start. Estre looking up the inside, not quite close enough. Now Walkinshaw tries around the outside. This is the rear view of the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari as they exit Druids, and there's a spin. That is Lombard going off in the Bentley, tapping into the barriers. Hopefully it's not going to be out of the race, but there'll be yellow flags up at that corner. It looks like he's managed to get going again. It's 3 wide here further back as Alexei Vasiliev comes under pressure from Fabian Tuna, but up at the front, great start from Robin Freitz. The Nissan got a great initial getaway, but then dropped back, and it's side by side between Estre and the BMW as they come under the bridge, and it looks as though Estre's going to hold on around the outside. No, not quite. Kaka Bueno into 3rd.
Well, Kevin Estre was the one of the 2 cars I thought would make a lunge down the inside into Paddock Hill Bend. He did it. He got past certainly the Nissan, but didn't quite squeeze past one of the 2 BMWs, but tried again into Hawthorns, but couldn't quite get the job done. Further back through the field, and you can see there's the number 4 ID, and it's just through Sheen Curve, trying to get through single file.
Yeah, that's James Nash trying to put a move on Marco Seefried in the Rinaldi Ferrari as they come through the left-hander at Sterling's and out onto the start-finish straight again. And Kevin Estre is darting around in that McLaren. He knows he needs to get through sooner rather than later as they head out onto the main straight and over the line to complete lap 1 of this 4-kilometre Brands Hatch circuit. On the brakes into Paddock Hill Bend. A look towards the inside from Marco Seefried. He's not going to be quite close enough to make a manoeuvre, so it's Freitz, then Attila Abreu, Kaka Bueno, Kevin Estre, Sean Walkinshaw and Albert von Turn and Taxis, the top 6. So von Turn and Taxis has made a good start. He's managed to get a position. Yeah. on board, down into Graham Hill Bend, and look at how close Kevin Estre is, coming down into Surtees. Is he going to send it up on the brakes? Oh, the BMW came across very late, and Estre really had to get out of it, and that is going to put him under big pressure from Sean Walkinshaw.
Indeed it is, but look at McLaren back again on the tail of the BMW. Estre was going for a gap. There's always a closing gap, so he had to turn back to the right to avoid it this time.
Oh,
looks to go around the outside, but no room to do so.
I thought he was getting pushed onto the grass there for a moment, but Cacabueno gave him just enough room. That is all allowing Sean Walkinshaw into the fight. Lurking in the background as well is the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini of Albert von Turn and Taxis as we come down into Dingledell on board with Walkinshaw. Siegfried is trying to get through past Nicky Mayer, Melnoff behind as well as they come into Stirling's Bend, but an action-packed opening couple of laps here at Brands Hatch. It's Robin Freitz leading the way. Someone's just run a little bit wide, but no attacks being made just yet as they come into clearways once again.
So the McLaren of Kevin Estre has consolidated after that very tight moment to go into Surtees, tailing the second of the two BMWs, Cacabueno, as Attila Bru manages to eke out a half a second advantage, but it's Robin Freins in the Audi who's pulled away 3/4 of a second gap at the end of lap 2.
So he is up. Oh, and there's Marco Siegfried into the barriers. No, he's kept it out magically. He's lost a lot of places though.
I could hear the money going ka-ching. That was going to be about $50,000 worth of bodywork, but he kept it off. A great bit of driving by Siegfried to ensure that the car didn't end up in the tyre barrier.
On board we go with Marco coming down into the left-hander of Graham Hill. Is there any move this time from Kevin Estre as they swing out through the long left-hander at Surtees? That is battling going on as Enzo Eid is battling with Marco Siegfried now. So that means he's lost out and all the way down to 14th position.
Yeah, man, he's gone across the gravel. His tyres will be choked full of the detritus you get when you go through a gravel trap. It'll take it a lap basically to get them all cleaned up and backed into proper condition. In the process, it's allowed Enzo Eid to get through in the number 2 Audi.
The 83 Bentley has rejoined the race. Olivier Lombard, but he is down in last position. The driver who's running in the Silver Cup, but this is the menacing view of Fabian Tuna right up behind the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari that's already had a trip through the gravel. A little dummy this way, dummy that way, but not quite close enough, and it's a shame because Marco Siegfried is a very, very quick racer, and Tuna's got up the inside coming into Stirling's, and as they come down towards clearways, they're going to emerge side by side, and he's lost. I wonder if he's got a problem.
He's got into the pits.
Yeah, so that's not good news for Marco Siegfried at all in that Rinaldi
and the
Ferrari.
same similar thing happened, not quite for the same reasons, but into the pits as was in the qualifying race now in the main race. So whether that's a cut, again a tyre that's been cut down as a consequence of that trip through the gravel, or whether it's something else. Robin Freins, the two Brazilian BMWs, Kevin Estre again giving no rest whatsoever to Cacabueno, and they were looking at the left rear. Is there damage more than just to the tyre? Certainly having a look at, can't quite doing with.
Not quite sure what they're doing there, but here's the battle for third position. Cacabueno under huge pressure from Kevin Estre on the run down into Hawthorne. Bueno covers the inside line again. This time Estre is almost on the grass again, but he's not quite close enough. Can he get the cut back into Westfield Bend? Has a little think about it. Not close enough. At the moment, Sean Walkinshaw, though, can't stay with these guys and is under pressure from Albert von Turn and Taxis behind, as out of the pits goes Marco Siegfried, now a long way down in the order. The start of car 2 is under investigation, so that's Enzo Eid potentially getting yet another penalty. Look how hard Kevin Estre's pushing all over the curbs and the grass on the exit of Stirling's, and he is really giving Cacabueno a hard time. The Brazilian earning his money here today as they come out through clearways.
Well, Cacabueno is very accustomed to close racing in Brazil in the Brazil Touring Car Championship, and he's not going to be fazed by Kevin Estre one little bit. But it is the American driver in the McLaren who is doing all the real racy bit of racing we've seen so far, with just what 7 minutes of this race.
Out through Druids they come, and there is Sergio Jimenez, teammate of Cacabueno, the man in third position, and a little bit of a grimace because he knows Frenchman Kevin Estre is all over the back of the BMW Team Brazil car as they come along the Cooper Straight into Surtees. That's Rob Bell, teammate of Kevin Estre, so we've got teammate watch going on in the pits as we have car watch going out on the circuit, dropping down again. This is where the BMW is at its weakest. It's very good through the corners, but on the straights it doesn't quite have the straight line grunt, although here he's managed to hold that position.
Yeah, but the thing is that the strength the BMW has is getting off the corner with that additional downforce. It then loses at the very end of the straight, but of course it means that the McLaren can't get sufficiently close to make that opportunity where the McLaren straight line speed might pay benefits.
Robin Freitz leading the way, just under a second clear of Attila Abreu in second place, who's just at the fastest middle sector of anyone. So he's taken 1/10 of a second out of Freitz so far on this lap. So the battle for the lead is in no way over, but the battle for third place is very much the one that's on at the moment. Also, Nicky Meyer-Meldorf and Albert von Turn and Taxis are having a great little fight a little bit further back, just flashing into shot there. But it's the third place battle that comes across the line. Again, with 2/10 of a second between Caca Bueno, multiple Brazilian stock car champion, and Kevin Estre behind him. Up the hill, into the right-hander. And you can see Bueno turns in nice and early just in case there's a late move.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing the right thing. He's just protecting his own position. He's not doing anything that is considered incorrect. But again, coming down through Graham Hill Bend, the McLaren slides over the runoff curb on the outside of the corner, but isn't able to get any benefit. And consequently still within the same, well, half or quarter of a second, whatever it might be. And again, coming on the straight, because the BMW is getting on the power that little bit sooner, it gives that an initial advantage. Then the second half of the straight, the McLaren can come back, but of course not enough of the racetrack remains before you get into Hawthorns.
The Rinaldi Ferrari is out of the race now by the looks of things. They've pushed it back into the garage, so it looks like a retirement for Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler. A real shame for them. After starting in 10th place on the grid, having had a real hard fight in the first race after getting a puncture on the first couple of laps. But it's Robin Freitz leading the way. Battles further back here are between Enzo Eid and Anders Fjordbach. Then we've got the second McLaren of Fabian Tuna, but here it is, nose to tail again for third place, and it looks to me as though Estre is closer than he has been before, heading towards Paddock Hill Bend. Is he going to be close enough to send a lunge up the inside? No, but he gets the Brazilian BMW to cover the inside. Doesn't quite manage to get the apex then in the end, Estre, so he can't get the switch back into Druids.
You know, Caca Bueno is a very, very capable, accomplished race driver, not just driving a racing car. He knows precisely how he can use his car to spoil any opportunities for Kevin Estre, and knows by putting the car just sort of in the middle of the road on the approach to Paddock, you can't go around the front or you can't go around the back.
Here's a look at the replay of the start then. Robin Freitz got a great getaway. Kevin Estre, in his desperation to get through, almost clipped the barrier on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend. It was the Nissan that got a great initial getaway, but then got sort of shuffled back in the pack a little bit. Who else made big progress at the start? No one really. Von Turn and Taxis held his position well on the inside there, in front of the WRT Audis, and then it all got a bit busy there. I think Olivier Lombard lost it by himself. This was the rear view from the Rinaldi Ferrari, so a rocket start actually from Marco Seefried, making up a number of places, which makes his retirement even more of a shame, as he then comes up on the run into Druids, and then he would end up getting involved in some fights. We've seen that Audi coming into this camera a couple of times today. There's Enzo Eid fighting his way through, and someone going on the grass there.
Well, that was the Bentley, I think we saw, just getting clipped.
No, I think it was Stefan Rakelmi in the WRT Audi, and the Bentley lost the
Bentley
one
did all on its own, yes, it was self-induced, Olivier Lombard.
Frustration for Olivier Lombard then, as this was the view on board. Oh, just snapped away from
him. I think something went wrong with the back of the car. That was not a driver error. There's something all of a sudden gave way very quickly. So they did come in and change a wheel, but
now they've retired from the race. So
yeah, I mean, it was a very sudden, and not a driver-related issue.
And something that was a driver-related issue is a drive-through penalty for Enzo Eid, that number 2 Audi. Penalties left, right, and centre today. I think that's their third of the day, and this time for a jump start.
Well, they got the 30-second penalty in the first in the qualifying race, and that put them back in the grid. And now another penalty for being a little bit hasty.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's not good news for the number 2 car of Enzo Eid. He is only running down in 13th position after what looked like a really strong start to the weekend for he and Christopher Mies. Here now is Albert von Turn and Taxis running in 6th position in the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini. He's just in front of Nicky Meyer-Meldorf, who in turn is less than a second in front of James Nash, who in turn is just half a second in front of Philippe Salaquada. So this battle over 6th through 9th is very close indeed. Stefan Rakelmi not quite able to keep with them, and it looks as though the BMW Team Brazil car coming out of the final corner has run onto wide and onto the gravel, so I think that could allow Kevin Estre through. It has.
Yeah.
So Kevin Estre goes through into Paddock Hill Bend.
Yeah, I mean, basically that was pressure, and Kevin Estre had been asserting it from the start of this race. He got the result he wanted, that BMW running fractionally wide in the exit of clearways, and then Estre was up and running up the inside of the BMW, up into third place. Now he can focus on the second of the two cars, Attila Peru. But again, that's slightly further down the road. It's probably the best part of 1.5 seconds.
Here's Alexei Vasiliev going up the inside of Lee Mole, and this is the battle over 13th position. They've got Olivier Lombard further back as well as they come up into the hairpin at Druids. So that's Alexei Vasiliev into 13th spot. And so 47 minutes to go here, and so that must be frustrating for Caca Bueno, because actually the challenge from Kevin Estre had just stopped a little bit, and then he made that mistake. So that'll be a particular source of frustration for him and the Brazilian team.
Well, you know, that's what happens. You might think the pressure stopped. You might have just momentarily relaxed. Maybe you had a little issue in the car. You just let it run slightly too wide, trying to get the maximum exit speed from a car. You want to release the car as early as possible, get the car as straight as possible, to get power down and get the drive off the corner. And that's all it takes. Just make a minute error, and a driver like Kevin Estre is not going to be asked a second time to take advantage of it.
Now here's Albert von Taxis going side by side with Meir Melnoff. Meir Melnoff on the outside in the Phoenix Racing Audi, absolutely side by side as they come over the start-finish line. Von Taxis gave the Audi a little bit of room, which was good to see, and now he'll go late on the brakes into Paddock Hill Bend and try and switch back to the inside line, but Von Taxis is far enough ahead and knows that's coming. Not quite able to do anything about it. It was side by side further back, and I think that means, as we see here, Marcus Winkelhock giggling away watching the action, but Stefan Rakelmi has now got past Philippe Salaquada on the run down into the first corner. Meir Melnoff goes wide, as he did in race 1, and that could put him under pressure from this man, Stefan Rakelmi.
Again, going so wide he got dirt on his tyres. That's going to slightly hamper him on the exit out of Surtees. So not only has he dropped back from the car, he was basically in a battle with Alex von Taxis. He's now allowed himself to fall into the hands of that sister Nissan. Audi.
Yeah, my apologies. That's James Nash that was doing battle with Philippe Salaquada and has held on to that 8th place. So it's still Stefan Rakelmi lurking further back in that black and red car there in car number 3 in 10th position at the moment. The gap at the front is up to 2.1 seconds. Robin Freitz ahead of Attila Abreu as this battle continues. Down into the left-hander of Sterling's and out onto the straight again. And if you look at the top of frame, you'll see the BMW running wide, dipping his wheels into the gravel, and that was all it took for Kevin Estre to say, merci bien, I'm coming through.
I mean, and in fairness, it only just caught the outside of the circuit. Yeah. It barely would have required Bueno to check the throttle, but was enough for Kevin Estre to realise that this is my chance. I've pushed, and I'm now getting the opportunity, and he didn't ask twice.
And now he's starting to close in on Attila Abreu in front of him. That last lap, he was half a second quicker, and he's only 1.9 seconds back down the road from the second place car. So Kevin Estre pushing hard as this battle continues through the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend. It's now Philippe Salaquada in the 75 car, up in front of Stefan Rakelmi. So this long queue, Meir Melnoff's gone a bit wide there into Surtees, keeps it together okay, but it's a nice 5-car queue over 6th position. As the man all by himself at the moment, really, is Sean Walkinshaw in 5th position in the Nissan. He's got 3.5 seconds in front of him, 3.5 seconds behind him, so he's just having a leisurely drive so far today. Not too busy in terms of action around him and getting attacked or defending. Through Dingle Dell. Meir Melnoff going right to the edge of the circuit there and desperate to try and get past Albert von Taxis, who's doing a good job, Albert.
Oh, absolutely, he's doing a very good job. And fairness, both cars got the same power plant, the V10 Audi engine. So the only differences in the car are the suspension layouts and the aerodynamic qualities. But in terms of overall lap time performance, the Audi right now isn't quite capable of restraining Albert von Taxis, and Meir Melnoff and von Taxis are the number 2 driver, let's say, in the respective cars. Nicky Katzberg in the Lamborghini and Marcus Winkelhock in the Audi would be probably a little bit quicker.
The quickest man on the circuit at the moment is Kevin Estre. He was 7/10 of a second quicker on that last lap than anyone else on the track at the moment. The Frenchman has got the bit between his teeth in the number 55 Attempto Racing McLaren 650S, and he's closed the gap down to Attila Abreu to, well, about 6/10 of a second now, I think, because he took half a second out of him in the first sector alone. So Kevin Estre really pushing hard in that battle for second place. Here they come into shot now. There's the race leader Robin Freitz in the number 1 WRT Audi, but then it's Attila Abreu, then it's that man there, Kevin Estre.
Yeah, by corner, the McLaren is catching up to the tail of the lead of the two Brazilian BMWs. Again, it's going to be the same situation. He catches it. Will he be able to swoop past in one quick manoeuvre, or will he again get caught as he had done since the opening of this race? So the speed of the McLaren in free air, as was explained to us by Rob Bell before the race got underway, is very clear to see. It's just a question of, has he got enough momentum to take him forward?
That is the big question. Into Paddock Hill Bend they drop, plunging down and then climbing up the hill again towards the hairpin right-hander at Druids, but look how quickly he's dropped Caca Bueno, who's running in 4th position. The gap's up to 4.1 seconds almost instantly. Estre's done the fastest first sector of anyone that last time around, and he was only 2/10 of a second quicker than Robin Freitz up at the front, but 6/10 of a second quicker than the second place man, Attila Abreu. And there's Walkinshaw coming out of the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend and along the Cooper Straight, but here now's the battle. Well, it's like a deja vu a little bit, isn't it? Because it's Kevin Estre versus a Brazilian BMW heading down towards Hawthorne.
Yeah, and all the issues that Kevin Estre had getting past Caca Bueno, he's going to have the same issues trying to get past Abreu, because quite simply, the two BMWs have got pretty much identical car setups and car performances. So in the McLaren and clear air, clearly the quicker of the two cars, getting into the dirtier air behind the BMW will then cause the McLaren. See, I mean, he's just every corner just creeping forward. He still has got that momentum, but he's getting into the zone now where it will be an effect from the BMW that will preclude him from making any further progress unless he can force an error from Abreu as he did from Caca Bueno.
There's Rob Bell, the man who's going to take over that car reasonably shortly. Pit stop window opens in 6 minutes time for 10 minutes, and very, very wide there for Attila Abreu. Is that going to give an opportunity to Estre? Up into Druids, thinks about it, but it's you come in quite early for the apex there at Druids, so there's not that much room on the inside.
No, you can't. I mean,
but maybe down into Graham Hill Bend, Kevin Estre finds the inside line and goes through into second place. Abreu tries to fight back, cutting back to the inside. Estre defends it, heading down towards Surtees, drives in the middle of the road and holds on to second position. And that all started with Abreu going wide at Paddock Hill Bend.
Yep, it takes maybe sometimes 3-4 corners, but that was clever thinking. Kevin Estre caught Abreu completely wrong-footed, didn't expect to see the McLaren coming down the inside the way it did, and once the McLaren was on the inside, it could control the exit of the corner, the run down to Surtees, and never going to be challenged down the main straight, down Hawthorne Straight, because the advantage of straight line speed McLaren has. Up into second place, the gap between second and first would be about 3.5 seconds, and we've got 5 more minutes before pit lane opens.
Yeah, so Abreu running a little bit wide there, but great work from Kevin Estre, as you say, John. 3.
So they talk about sliding in a run, but a bit like a drifter.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kevin Estre pushing so hard in that McLaren. Out onto the start-finish straight he comes, because he knows that actually it's only, well, it was 3.5 seconds previous lap. He's been busy overtaking this time around, so it's 4.5 seconds, the gap back. Let's just watch this again, shall we?
And this is what motor racing is all about. When you see a driver in a race car, take it to the limit and entertain us.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Kevin Estre pushing super hard then. 4.5 seconds back from Robin Freitz, who's in the lead of the race. Rob Bell enjoyed it, I think. He'll get a new set of tyres, so he's probably not too concerned. He can do what he likes to them. But here's the battle now, continuing for 6th position. Albert von Turnentaxis in the 88 Reiter Lamborghini. Got a bit out of shape coming out of Druids.
Yeah, but what he did was he sort of adjusted forward by going defensive into Graham Hill Bend. Slightly slow on the exit. That gives Nicky Meyer-Melnhof an opportunity once again to get close to the rear wing of the Lamborghini. Different lines coming through Surtees. Von Turnentaxis using what I would call defensive line now, pretty much all round critical corners, so that he would stymie any attempt by Meyer-Melnhof in the Audi to get that run.
So just 3 minutes to go before the pit stop window opens, and I imagine certainly Von Turnentaxis and maybe Meyer-Melnhof will come straight in this battle. We may see Philippe Salaquada, we might see Stefan Rakelmi staying out a little longer. We go on board now with James Nash, running in 8th place at the moment, and a bit of a mistake there from Nicky Meyer-Melnhof.
A big tank snapper coming off the curb, lost ground to the Lamborghini just ahead, and he almost, in fact, he was lucky to keep the car on track because it went from right abruptly over to the left, and that's the danger of the curb and the exit of Stirling's Bend.
On board with James Nash into the first corner at Paddock Hill. That has allowed Von Turn & Taxis to gain a 7/10 of a second advantage. James Nash just 3/10 behind the man in front. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, pit stop window won't be open at the end of this lap, so they'll have to keep going out there for one more tour before they can come in, get a fresh set of tyres and get back on their way. Race lead, meanwhile, I'll give you an update on that next time they come through. It was 4.3 seconds at the end of that last lap, so it came down by 2/10. Not enough to make a massive amount of difference, but nevertheless, Estra driving very, very strongly. And he's taken a 10th out of him in this first sector as well, so that's a gap that'll continue to close. There is the 4 car of James Nash. A strong performance from him so far today, the car he shares with Frank Stippler. And then there is the other WRT car of Stefan Rakelmi, running in 10th position at the moment. The Monegasque driver stuck behind the Czech racer Philippe Salaquada, dropping down into the left-hander of Stirling's Bend. Race leaders have just come across the line, and the gap's down to 3.6 seconds. 7/10 of a second on that last lap, so he's taken a second out of him over the last 2 laps as Kevin Estra. And will they be, well, what will the decision be? That's going to be very interesting pit stop wise, whether you bring Freintz in as quickly as possible to get Vanthor in the car, or whether they're sort of much of a muchness and you need to stop later to keep the tyres a bit fresher for the second stint.
The question I would ask is, will they keep Kevin Estra in the car until the last possible moment to let him maintain the momentum he's building up, and he's lapping very, very quickly right now. So would you bring him in and take him out of the car, put Rob Bell in and have to wait for him to get back up to speed, or give Estra, that is, the maximum time in the car to try and do something, while maybe the lead car comes in and hands over to Laurent Vanthor? So all the strategy goes on in the pit lane, teams having to think on their feet, and that's what makes a really good racing team. It can think on its feet.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is the continuing battle between Albert Von Turn & Taxis and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. I think Meyer-Melnhof will be getting sick of the side of the back of the Lamborghini at the moment. James Nash has got his lights ablaze. You can see he lost almost 3/10 of a second on that lap where he made a mistake, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, lap 15. And look how close Rakelmi is as well, to the back of Philippe Salaquada. Not going to be close enough. The leaders are about to come across the line, so I can give you a split update there. It was 3.6 seconds. Now as they come across the line, it is 3.2, so again down by 4/10 of a second. So it's gradually coming as this battle comes into the final corner at Clearways once more. Pit lane window not open yet, so they're going to have one more tour before we see what they decide to do.
I suspect we're going to see the Lamborghini and probably the Audi running behind it, Meyer-Melnhof coming in relatively quickly, because they'll want to get their, what I would describe as professional drivers, back in behind the wheel. But I have to say, Albert Von Turn & Taxis has done a good job in keeping the Audi behind. He's driven hard, he's driven fairly, and he's just getting a bit better by the race.
Yeah, absolutely. A really good race from Albert Von Turn & Taxis, and he was running pretty comfortably in second place as well earlier on in the qualifying race too. So pit stop window is open. We've got some visitors. It's Enzo Eid and also Fabian Thuner. In comes the teammate McLaren to the one that's in second place. What a great weekend so far for Thuner and Vlasic. And this is the squabble over 11th place. Anders Fjordbach up behind the yellow GT Russia Mercedes of Alexei Kadachev. Alexei Vasiliev has just done his personal best first sector of the race so far. He's running down in 14th position. 3.2 seconds now, the gap between the race leaders, so it's coming down and coming down. Are we going to see any of these guys come into the pits now? Through Clearways, Von Turn & Taxis is coming in, as is Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, so you should go into team management.
One of my many talents. I don't have to do it, I just predict it.
Now, they've just been, yeah, so Von Turn & Taxis very, very careful on his way into the pits to make sure he gets everything stopped in time. So it's going to be a straight pit stop battle between Reiter and Phoenix. And I suppose WRT as well, because Stefan Rakelmi's come in, and we've got the 73 Nissan of Sean Walkinshaw into the pits as well, and Attila Abreu from 3rd position. So an awful lot of pit stop action to keep an eye on. Out goes Attila Abreu. He's done in the Brazilian BMW.
And the Nissan had a poor pit stop in its qualifying race. It didn't seemingly have a particularly
got a better one
run.
here. Here comes Von Turn and Taxis. They're going to go side by side, and Meyer Melnoff's got the jump. Phoenix are in front of Reiter at the pit stop, so that means Winkelhock is in front of Nicky Katzberg, who is in front of Stefan Ortelli as they come out of the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's just good pit work by the Phoenix team to turn it around, and for Marcus Winkelhock, he doesn't have to worry about not finding a way past a very, very quick and combative Nicky Katzberg in the Lamborghini. In fact, it might be the other way around. Maybe Katzberg is going to put the heat onto the back of the Audi. Now Marcus Winkelhock is behind.
Across the line they come, the leaders, and it's down to 2.9 seconds. Remember, it was 4.5 a couple of moments ago. So that's good work from Kevin Estra. That last lap he was 0.3 of a second quicker. Here is Robin Freitz coming around the hairpin at Druids and dropping down into Graham Hill Bend. That is the visible gap. Even if they do win this race, the number 1 Audi, I'd be surprised if it's a 26-second advantage at the end, because they're being pushed all the way here by the Temto Racing McLaren.
Well, just lap by lap, Kevin Estra has been taking 2/10, 3/10 out of that advantage. Is just under 3 seconds, 2.9 seconds. There is the McLaren coming on to the straight, and Kevin Estra, he will have the lead Audi in his sights, and that's having a car on your sights is always a little bit of extra momentum, a little bit of extra encouragement to try and get that gap even further.
Into the right-hander at Westfield Bend. Then we've got some back markers further back, obviously, as Kevin Estra turns up into the right-hander, pushing super hard still. It was a 10th of a second slower in Sector 1, but 2/10 quicker in Sector 2. Goodness me! He's pushing so hard.
He's flirting with danger doing that all the time you do it.
In comes Freitz.
Yes, lead cars in.
In comes the race leader, Robin Freitz. Oh, I thought he'd gone wide there, but I think he was just pushing as hard as he can.
McLaren stays out, so Kevin Estra takes over the lead. And again, now he's got nothing but clear air ahead of him. He's got the opportunity with, what, 5.5 minutes or so remaining before he'll have to come in and hand over to Rob Bell.
So into the pits comes the number 1 car. Lawrence Vanthor there on the right-hand side, getting ready to take over. Freitz pulls out his little seat insert and sits Vanthor in. And they get to work. Oh, one of the BMWs was coming in as well. That is the 0 car. Meanwhile, here's the attack from Nick Katzberg, trying to get past Marcus Winkelhock as they come up into the right-hander of Hawthorne. Katzberg not quite close enough. Away, meanwhile, goes the previous race leader. And so we'll have to wait a couple of laps to see where he'll come out in comparison to the McLaren. But at the moment, Nicky Katzberg not quite able to get past Winkelhock for what should ultimately be 7th place.
Lawrence Vanthor takes over was the lead car, and once these pit stops wash through, undoubtedly will still be the race leader.
He is up behind the sister 650S McLaren from Attempto Racing, so there could be a little bit of cheekiness here potentially. Oh, let's watch Kevin Estra through here, shall we?
He's been entertaining all the way through the race, runs the curb, gets the back of the McLaren.
That was rubbish.
This time I would say 6 out of 10 for effort. He's certainly gone over 10. He's had 11 on one occasion.
And he's coming into... No, he's not. He's carrying on. Kevin Estra continues out there. Craig Dolby's just set the fastest final sector of anyone. Now he's got fresh tyres on that Nissan. As he comes down into Paddock Hill Bend now, Kevin Estra. And that last lap was a 25.7, which again was a very quick lap time from the Frenchman. They tried to get the overlap when the rivals are out in traffic. Still Nick Katzberg here in the 88 Reiter Lamborghini, trying to get past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. As I said, I think that's going to be essentially for 6th position overall in the race, and we've got Audi's nose to tail too. So the number 3 Audi has got past the number 4 Audi in the pit stops, and that means that Stefan Ortelli in the 3 car is now out in front of the 4 car of Frank Stippler, and they've both dropped back a bit from the squabbling pair in front. And well, Stippler and Ortelli, how much experience do you want in 2 cars? I wouldn't do the combined age, that would be harsh, but very, very...
Oh, Jeremy Ortelli.
Needed all his experience.
That's experience. He saved it.
Yeah, he was
but I mean, he
Stippler,
shouldn't have been out in that territory when he almost got that right rear wheel off onto the grass. You saw a big puff of green. Let's watch and look at it again. As just too anxious to pursue the car, runs wide, hits the grass, then kicks up green dust, and well, that was a big save. As the Bentley were just following some of the cars running through towards the back of the field, but that was a big save from Ortelli.
Race leader in the pits. Kevin Estre has come into the pits then for his pit stop change. There he is, and it'll be Rob Bell taking over. Very experienced, very fast racer as they get all four wheels change on that Attempto racing car. Here is our race leader who's only just got past the sister McLaren. So is that going to play into the hands of the 55 car?
It's going to be very close, because that will have cost the lead Audi, or effectively lead Audi, the best part of 1, maybe 2 seconds. It's all down to the speed of the pit stops. Looks to me like Laurens van Voor's got it covered. He's coming through clearways now, and the McLaren is still in the pit lane now, just beginning to roll. Rob Bell a little bit slow and getting the car moving, and the Audi comes and takes the lead.
That's a comfortable advantage, and I think Attempto Racing could lose second position here, because look to the right of shot. Here comes the Brazilian BMW in the hands of a Valdeno Brito, and they are going to go through into second position then. So a slow stop for the Attempto Racing McLaren team drops Rob Bell down to third position, and he is still in front of the 0 BMW, I think, as it all gets very busy further back in the pack. Coming through the right-hander, Craig Dolby's now set the fastest middle sector of anyone as we watch this squabble. Oh, look up the inside into the right-hander of Sheen. That is brave, and that is good stuff. And that is Simkowiak going through and taking 12th place away from the Anders Fjordbak.
But since Simkowiak got into the Bentley, he's been driving that car really quickly, and he pushed him in getting through into Sheen. Normally you'd never expect to see a car go through on the inside.
And it's still side by side here with Simkowiak now coming under pressure from Christopher Mies in the number 2 WRT Audi. Absolutely door handle to door handle coming into Paddock Bend. Adbisa, he's done it round the outside on the brakes. Good work from Christopher Mies as they drop down into the right-hander and up towards Druids. But it's Laurens van Voor leading the way then. A really good pit stop from the WRT squad. A weaker one from Attempto Racing. And still this battle rages between Winkelhock and Katzberg over 6th place. They come up now through the right-hander of Sheen.
I mean, Nicky Katzberg did have an opportunity literally on his first flying lap when he got closer to the back of this Marcus Winkelhock driven Audi than we have seen. And now that we're back into the sort of the lappery where the pace is being controlled by Marcus Winkelhock, Katzberg again has sort of stalled out.
So here's a look at the replay. This is
what a place to pass, up the inside into Sheen curve. I don't think I've seen anybody in a competitive context overtake up in there. Forces the Audi very wide, and of course the following Audi and the Mercedes looking to squeeze through. The Mercedes did get through as a consequence of
and there is Olivier Lombard, the teammate of Simkowiak, watching on, and look at the gap there. You can see first and second now, the gap is 10.4 seconds, and Laurens van Voor has just set the fastest first sector of anyone. So it looks as though they are going to have an excellent weekend here in Brands Hatch, and may well be top of the championship come the end of the race, because the other championship challengers from Nagaro are either not here or not having a very good run at all. 25 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch. Pit stop window about to close, but everyone has been into the pits. Van Voor has gone purple in sector 1.
And it's just a masterclass. He's just showing you what you can do in an Audi. Outstanding drive.
We can now hear from Kevin Estre, the teammate of Rob Bell in that 55 McLaren.
Kevin Estre, there's been some spectacular racing, but your stint was astonishing. The way you hunted, brilliant start, and then you hunted down both the Brazilian BMWs.
Yeah, it was. I had a good start. It was really close at the start, and then the first BMW was quite a lot slower, but it was tough to pass him. He closed the door every time, and even if I went on the outside, he pushed me a little bit into the grass. It was really on the edge, but at the end he made a mistake. I managed to pass him, and then I catch the other BMW, and he didn't close the door, and I had a good exit. I could overtake him, and then it was tough to come back. I came back a bit on the number 1, but I think I pushed really hard at the beginning behind the BMW, and maybe I killed a bit the tires, but otherwise the car was fantastic, and it was really good racing. I enjoyed it.
But for all your incredibly hard work, it looked as though the pit stop was quite slow, lost a bit of ground.
Yeah, the team is new, and they have to learn this, and we keep improving second by second after every pit stop, but Well, we lost a lot of time at the first pit stop in the first race. Now a bit less. It looks like we're still P3, so let's hope for a good pace from Rob and we'll catch the second.
Good job. Thank you, Kevin.
Great to hear from Kevin Estre, the man who fought that 55 car from 5th on the grid up to 2nd in the race. Now it's back to 3rd in the hands of Rob Bell. Valdino Brito in the 77 BMW Team Brazil car is running in 2nd spot. He and birthday boy Attila Abreu. And then 4th place is Sergio Jimenez in the 0 BMW. 5th is Craig Dolby, who is lapping 0.4 of a second quicker than Jimenez in 4th, and is only, well, that's how close he is behind, about 3 seconds, maybe less than that so far. So that could be an opportunity.
I think this car, the Nissan Craig Dolby behind it, has got a very good chance of getting into context with Jimenez in the 4th place BMW. But what the pace of Laurens van Thor, he's lapping approximately a second a lap quicker on that last lap, and his personal best 24.5 is against the last lap 24.7. When your principal competitor's doing a lap time a second slower, it's just Laurens van Thor at the very top of his game. And your drivers are saying, where is this pace coming from? These cars are all fundamentally very similar. How come he's so much quicker than the rest of us?
Yeah, it's a
horrible reality to have to deal with.
Into the left-hander come Winkelhock and Katzberg. And Winkelhock still running in that 6th place in the number 6 Phoenix Racing Audi. Katzberg has been chasing him down ever since that Lamborghini lost the position at the pit stops. Phoenix doing a better job in the pits. The 888 pit stop is under investigation when Lee Mole handed over to Joe Osborne. It's a shame that they're going to finish down in 16th. Well, they're running down in 16th position at the moment. Leading Pro-Am is Bernd Schneider in 11th place. And leading the Silver Cup is Simkoviak in the 83 Bentley, running in 12th position. But up at the front it's Van Thor leading the way. He's just come across the line. Is he extending his advantage? Yes, he is, by, goodness me, that last lap he was 1.3 seconds quicker than anyone else on the track, Laurens Van Thor.
But he's been just, I mean, literally every lap he's been on average a second quicker than the remaining cars, and that's including 2nd place Brito in the BMW. So he's just in a zone which is completely different to anybody else here on the track.
So 2nd place is Brito. Is Bell closing in on him 0.4 of a second on that last lap, but he's still 5 seconds back. And Jimenez is lapping at a similar sort of lap time. Winkelhock and Katzberg are closing in on the sort of Dolby-Jimenez battle further in front.
Yeah, but Dolby's also closing in on Jimenez. It was a lap ago just over 3 seconds, now it's down to 2.7. So if they're all actually in unison moving forward up towards 4th place, then Sergio Jimenez. Katzberg just rides the curb coming out of Surtees. The car gets a little bit unstable.
So nervous times for Albert von Turnen Taxis, the teammate of the 88 Lamborghini driver. Let's hear from him.
Albert von Turnen Taxis, you've had a big smile in your face when I walked into the garage. Satisfied with your stint? It looked fantastic fun.
Yeah, it was just pretty close to it in TV. It was very much fun, and yeah, I think I might have I should have been a bit faster, but I think that Nicky is now behind Winky, and it doesn't look like he has good chances to pass him. They're quite evenly matched, and we've kind of lost a bit touch to the front group at the moment.
But it was a very entertaining battle with Nicky, though, wasn't it?
It was very entertaining indeed. Nicky put a lot of pressure on me and put me into a couple of mistakes. It was quite good fun. Nice to race with Nicky.
Well, great TV too. Well done.
Thank you.
It's hard sometimes. You forget that these drivers have got names for their competitors, and Vinky is Winkelhock and Niki is Mayer Melnhof. And of course they're all German language, German speaking, Austrian and German. So, and again, Katzberg running wide, coming out of Graham Hill Bend. You're pushing. To me, his opportunities have gone. The car doesn't seem to quite tuck in to Surtees as well as the Audi is doing. He's struggling with that initial bite at the front of the Lamborghini, and therefore, consequence, loses any advantage he hoped he might have going on to this Hawthorne Straight.
To explain the differences in time that we're talking about at the pit stops, WRT Audi, they're the number 1 car, Van Thor and Freitz, their pit stop was 44.8 seconds. The BMW Team Brazil, the 2nd place car, their pit stop was 46.11 seconds, so they lost just over a second in the pits, whereas the Attempto McLaren, the Kevin Estre Rob Bell car, did a 56.06, so 12 seconds slower in the pits, and that's where the time is lost. But this man is losing no time at all.
It's just a metronomic performance. Last lap 24.7, best lap 24.5. I mean, every lap is under the 125. The best we're seeing from Brito in the BMW, he did a 25.6. He got within just under a second of the time done by Laurens van Thor. Just again, well, obviously in clear air, just driving in a completely different zone to anybody else. He can place the car precisely where he wishes to do on the entry, and then pick up his apex, get on the throttle, and then drive the car off the corner. There's no wasted energy whatsoever from Laurens van Thor. He's making it look slow, and that's why he's going so quickly.
That last lap was well, it was only 9/10 of a second quicker than everyone else.
Doesn't even run the curb on the exit. So where's the speed coming from? It's coming from driving a wheel perfect lap.
Now there's a 5-second time penalty to be added to car number 6, which is Marcus Winkelhock in the Phoenix Audi, as a result of exceeding track limits. Now that's usually at Graham Hill Bend. Paddock Hill, you can't really exceed the track limits without ending up in the gravel. So that car number 6 is going to have a 5-second time penalty, which will put it behind Nicky Katzberg in the 88 Lamborghini. There you can see confirmation at the top of the screen. So that'll be frustration for Katzberg to an extent, because okay, he's got the place, but he can't make any more progress up the field because he's still stuck behind the Audi in front.
That all happened actually, I think, on the opening laps of this stint that we're seeing Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Katzberg, because there was a moment coming out of Graham Hill Bend where it looked like that Katzberg was going to have an opportunity, but it didn't quite get together going into Surtees. So I suspect it's taken that little bit of time. What was that from Laurens van Thor? He seemed to be hanging out very wide on the run down from Graham Hill. Just like to see that one again. It looked as if maybe he'd run slightly too wide in the exit, and the car just given it a little kick.
We'll keep an eye out on that one, but it was turn 3 and 5 that the penalty was given for Winkelhock for. So that's Graham Hill Bend, which makes sense. But then turn 5, I think, is here at Hawthorne. So I don't. Can you run wide on the exit?
You can certainly run wide, but there's no significant benefit or gain. In fact, probably it would be more detrimental to your position or your lap time. But certainly running out of Graham Hill Bend is the corner where you can run very, very wide, and in some cases, if you're in a defensive mode, use that tactic to try and help your defense of a position.
Through the left-hander then comes Marcus Winkelhock, who is in effect running in 7th place now because he's been given a 5-second penalty for that infringement. 16 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch, and Rob Bell is 3.7 seconds behind Valdeno Brito in 2nd place. So that gap has come down. It's not coming down remarkably quickly, and we have only got 15 minutes left, but if Bell can sort of step on it, he might be able to close in a little bit. Winkelhock and Katzberg, meanwhile, are they still closing in on Craig Dolby? Yes, they are, and Dolby too is sort of closing in on Jimenez, but there's only 2.5 seconds between Jimenez and Dolby, whereas it's 4 seconds back to this gang.
I think everybody's had the benefit of the fresh tyres that they would have fitted. They're now running approximately at each really similar speeds, 25.5s.
Let's see if Nicky Melmanov is happy about the penalty he's been given.
Nicky Melmanov, a fantastic battle out there with Albert Fonton and Taxis, but now you've been given a penalty. Explain why you think that happened.
It was a fantastic battle. It's such a shame that that happens now with the 5 seconds, because we had a really good battle. I was teammate with Albert a few years ago, and it was a real pleasure to drive out there and fight really hard. It was hard and fair, and he didn't do any mistakes, and it was really cool to drive. But it's a shame to destroy a race like this with the 5 seconds, because if you look closely, the Lamborghini is doing the same thing exactly like in turn 3, and yeah, it's measuring with 2 different kind of rulers. So it's a shame. I mean, we're fighting out there for position, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Still 15 minutes to go, so maybe it's pulling away 15 seconds, and then we'll be okay.
We'll see. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they were teammates together in the FIA GT3 European Championship a couple of years ago. Albert Fonton and Taxis and Nicky Melmanov. Great to hear them enjoying it, but it is obviously a shame when an on-track battle is sort of ruined, but them's the rules.
Yeah, I mean, the rules are very clear, and in particular, I mean, we think it is Graham Hill Bend, although it's seen as turn 5 on the information that we got from the director, that if you run wide there, you can use part of the runoff, but if you get more than 4 wheels over the red and white curb, then you're into a zone. And in particular, that was the way that Winkelhock maybe was using to defend his position from a very charging Nicky Katzberg, literally just, I think, on their first flying laps after their driver changes. And consequently, that might have been perceived to have been an advantage. So otherwise, it might have been a case of Nicky Katzberg getting through. And that's what the race stewards or race directors have decided. There's a penalty, which is a 5-second penalty, and that automatically leapfrogs Nicky Katzberg in terms of position, final position, ahead of the ID of Marcus Winkelhock.
Here's Laurens Vanthoor, fastest lap of the race on lap 24, a 1 minute 24.522, and he is, well, I'll let you know in a moment how far ahead he is, because he's coming down to Graham Hill Bend, and the second place car comes across the line now, so 16.3 seconds clear. That is Robin Freins on the left-hand side, watching on as his teammate looks to be taking that #1 WRT Audi to a commanding victory here in Brands Hatch. Really strong performance. The battle we were watching a few moments ago is Marco Asma in 13th place, trying to defend from Christopher Mies in 14th position. That's the closest battle on the track at the moment, apart from Mortelli and Stippler, who are still squabbling over 8th position. The two WRT Audi teammates in 8th and 9th, but Vanthoor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was going to be interesting for me is to watch the progress of Robin Freins over the course of this season, because he's new to GT racing. It is a different discipline. The cars are quite different than the levels of downforce that he's accustomed to. But Freins has been a winner in every formula he's raced in, and it will not be very long before he's challenging the out-and-out pace of Laurens Vanthoor. And you know, everybody's ambitious. Even though you're sharing a car, you want to be the man in that car. Currently it's Vanthoor. By the end of the season, you might find Robin Freins is pushing that title.
Yes, Vanthoor made a very quick start to his GT racing career as well. In 2012, he entered the FIA GT1 World Championship alongside Stefan Ortelli in a WRT Audi, and won his first ever GT race in Nogaro, and that was after stepping out of Formula 3 races where he'd been on the podium at Macau and raced in all sorts of other series around Europe before essentially running out of the sort of funding you need to carry on in your single-seater ladder, which is a very similar story to Robin Freins. So to now have them together is great news for the championship, maybe not for the rest of the teams, because they're two incredibly quick drivers.
Yes, and also WRT Audi are picking up these youngsters who are now being made redundant because there's nothing available for them in the single-seater route. And there's a great opportunity to get into a really outstanding team like WRT Audi and be given a chance to drive both in GT events here, in the sprint event, and then also some of the enduro events along with the Blancpain Enduro Championship. And you can make a really good living, and that's what these racing drivers are trying to do.
The battle for 10th position has closed in rapidly over the last few laps. Marco Bononomi has been caught by Bernd Schneider, but also it looks as though Craig Dolby's getting closer to Sergio Jimenez. There is the 0 BMW, and then there is the 73 Nissan. Actually, Winkelhock and Katzberg have closed in too, about a second quicker on that last lap, so the gap between them is down to just 2.3 seconds. So this could all get going in the last 10.5 minutes. There is Frank Stippler in the #4 WRT Audi, still just a little bit behind his teammate Stefan Ortelli, with 10 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch, the second main race of the season. Into the right-hander they come. And this is the battle for 10th. Bernd Schneider right up behind Marco Bononomi as they come down into clearways. Bernd Schneider still leading the Pro-Am class by about 15 seconds in that yellow 70 Mercedes.
Yes, and that's their objective. They're here to win the Pro-Am class. They would obviously love to be further up the field, but in the Pro-Am class, that's what you get, a professional driver and a more of an amateur gentleman driver. So your compromise is in that particular equation. Up the inside, Bernd Schneider still's got, as he was, well, I hope he's not going to go rubbing too much paint, but the Audi went round the outside and held on to the position. Good driving.
Good stuff from Marco Bononomi. As we say, these two aren't battling necessarily for points, because Bernd Schneider is still leading his Pro-Am class up the inside into Surtees now. Again, he was a little bit far back to try that manoeuvre, but they'll be side by side now on the run through Pilgrim's Drop. Schneider on the outside in the yellow Mercedes. On the inside was the Audi. It is still there. Bononomi going late on the brakes. Nothing Schneider can do there. His first experience of this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
Well, what you got here is relative youth, 30-year-old Bononomi and 50-year-old Bernd Schneider, but racers to the core and using their advantages and disadvantages. Great to see good clean racing. It got close up at Druids, but Bononomi went the long way around one corner, then he was on the inside for Hawthorns, and it's been, well, that's good racing.
Something that'll wind Marcus Finkelhock and Nicky Meyer up a little bit is that car 88, Nicky Katzberg, has just been given a warning flag for not respecting track limits. So that's an interesting one, as this battle for 10th place continues down into Paddock Hill Bend. Bononomi covers the inside line.
Watch for Schneider trying to get it up the inside into Druids, maybe using that little bit of curb. It's going to make it more difficult, but he's having a look. But again, Bononomi is capable of putting the Audi in the piece of road that the Mercedes is looking for. And again, off Druids, the run down to Graham Hill Bend, no threat from Bernd Schneider. Next opportunity, possibly into Surtees, but we've seen what happened when he got alongside previously. It was all about track position. Again, looking to thrust the nose of the Mercedes up the inside, but not close enough this time.
In 5th position, Craig Dolby is now under big pressure from Marcus Finkelhock and Nicky Katzberg by the looks of things, because they've really managed to close in on that Nissan over the previous few laps. Into Hawthorn, continues this battle for 10th place. Bernd Schneider desperate to try and find a way through and get up into the top 10, which would be a decent result for them, because they had to start that in 14th spot. Now here's the Nissan. Craig Dolby at the wheel showed good pace when he got in the car, setting purple lap times, but maybe that took too much out of his tyres, because he's now under pressure from behind.
Yeah, I think that really is more about a tyre issue on the Nissan. They had a good set of tyres, very quick purple sector times, in fact, on the opening stint for Craig Dolby, but now finding himself dropping back into the clutches of the Marcus Finkelhock and Nicky Katzberg. Katzberg again still running very wide in the exit. He's had a warning about doing that.
So is Rob Bell now as well. So Bell, Brito and Katzberg have all had a warning over exceeding track limits. Now the challenge for the Audi here, as Bernd Schneider attacks again, coming up into Druids. Not quite close enough, managed to get alongside, but was on the wrong part of the circuit as they drop down into the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend. Out, and Bernd Schneider going very wide. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets a warning flag as well pretty soon. Race leader comes through to start his 38th lap of the race, and is still, well, I'll let you know when the second place car comes through, just to give you an idea of the advantage that Van Thor has out at the front. But this 10th place battle still brewing, and second place car comes across the line now, so that's 17 seconds, and then it's 5th, 6th and 7th, Dolby, Finkelhock, Katzberg, MRS, Phoenix and Reiter.
Remember, there's a 5-second penalty to be added to Marcus Finkelhock's time, so if he does get past Craig Dolby, he needs to pull a further 5 seconds for him to have that position confirmed, and there's still possibility that Nicky Katzberg's position might ultimately be in play as well.
Finkelhock looks to the outside, coming through Druids. Oh, not quite. They're both getting out of shape on the rundown now. Constantina's up. It must have been a bit of a tap there, I think, from the back of the Reiter Lamborghini. They'll both look to the inside as they come down. Katzberg switches back to the inside line. Goodness, Finkelhock came across. I thought there was going to be contact there, but they just about got away with it. That was cigarette paper thin. A shake of the head.
There was nothing winky about that, was there?
Absolutely not. And now Katzberg's attacking on the outside. On the rundown, Pilgrim's drop. Can he outbrake him around the outside? He's going to try. Katzberg goes through in the Lamborghini. Great move from the Dutchman. He is up into 6th position on the road. He had the position anyway because of the 5-second penalty for Finkelhock, but now he's going to attack that Nissan in front.
And that's really what Nicky Katzberg has been focusing upon. Try and find a way past Marcus Finkelhock.
Oh, he's
runs
gone
wide out of Sheen Curve. Not a problem. He's going to get the car back into shape coming out of Stirling's Bend, and Marcus Finkelhock has had to concede position after a fantastic battle. In fairness, it was more to do with Craig Dolby getting it out of shape coming out of Druids that allowed all that concertina effect. Sean Walkinshaw just keeping an eye on what his teammates doing.
And that's helped the Nissan a bit,
yes,
because
absolutely, it's given it a little bit of momentum. 4.5 minutes remaining.
Into Paddock Hill Bend they come, and Finkelhock will be fired up after that one. I genuinely thought they were coming together down the Cooper Straight that time. It must have been nothing at all between them, as they then head down through into the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend now. lights ablaze on the MRS Nissan, that have had a very strong race weekend here. They had good pace last time out in Nogaro, but couldn't quite get it together in terms of the racing. As they up into Druids comes this continuing battle for 10th position. Up into the right-hander. It was a retirement in the first race and a 15th place in the second race for the MRS GT Nissan. So even if they only manage 5th here, that's still a very good result considering the weekend they had at Nogaro back in Easter weekend. But it could be, maybe, down to 6th place if Nicky Katzberg has anything to say about it, because he is pushing very hard. Through goes Sergio Jimenez, who's running in 4th place in the 0 BMW. Second is still Valdeno Brito in the oh, and off there, which one is that? It's number 4, it's Frank Stippler. So Stippler's gone off. I think he must have been by himself up at the right-hander of Sheen, because he was 3 seconds behind his teammate Stefan Ortelli. But now here comes the battle for 5th position. Nicky Katzberg pushing hard to try and get through. Can he get an overlap here? Not quite. Running down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. Dolby covers the inside line. Katzberg finds it anyway and manages to get past. Up into 5th position goes Nicky Katzberg. Really opportunistic stuff from the Dutchman. He impressed last year in the Blancpain Endurance Series, but look on the inside. There's going to be attack. No, not quite, from the Audi of Marcus Winkelhock. Dolby really having to wrestle with the car as they head out down through Pilgrim's Drop now. Towards Hawthorne Bend, the right-hander. John has gone down to speak to probably Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz, but who is going to finish in 5th and 6th position? We'll wait and see as they head through the right-hander. Great move that from Nicky Katzberg. It looked as though, I think Dolby thought he had the inside line covered, but he wasn't quite able to do it. Out onto the back stretch they come, into the final corner at Clearways. And this is, well, the frustration here for Marcus Winkelhock is even if he gets past, he's got a 5-second time penalty. Race leader, meanwhile, Laurens Vanthoor, is on to his penultimate lap of the race, which these guys are starting now. Into Paddock Hill Bend, there is Laurens Vanthoor. Dropping down the hill and then up again into the right-hander of Hawthorne. And what a wonderful performance this has been from the man who won the Blancpain Endurance Series last year. He won the overall Blancpain GT Championship last year. The combination of the Endurance and the Sprint Series wasn't really in contention at the end of the Sprint Series season because he and Cesar Ramos just couldn't get it hooked up on a Sunday. And so far this year, it looked as though they couldn't get it hooked up on a Friday either, after a crash at Nogaro saw them out for the weekend. There's 77, Valdeno Brito running in 2nd place. A very happy birthday for his teammate Attila Abreu, 28 today, and a nice 2nd place trophy will do the job. Race leader onto his final lap now, Laurens Vanthoor. Then we've got the 3rd place car of Rob Bell into Clearways. But here is our race leader through the Druids hairpin once again. A wonderful performance from Laurens Vanthoor, who has won the Sprint Championship in the past when it was the FIA GT Series. He and Stefan Ortelli, champions in 2013. Out they come. Down Pilgrim's Drop once more. It's been a commanding victory. And once Vanthoor got behind the wheel and WRT did their pit work, it's just been absolutely stunning stuff from the number 1 R8. In the early stages, Robin Freitz had to work hard to fend off the cars behind. But as the race progressed, it was the superb pit stop from the WRT squad. It was a second quicker than the Brazilians. It was about 10 seconds quicker than the McLaren team. Bononomi still having to defend from Bernd Schneider, who on the final lap of the race attacks going up into Druids. He's still going to win the Pro-Am class, Bernd Schneider. But now into the final corner comes Laurens Vanthoor. They struggled to win the main races all season in 2014, but their first shot at 2015 is a victory in the main race for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz. A great performance from them. after not even getting to start the weekend in Nogaro for the first round of the year. They have been victorious here at Brands Hatch. Second place across the line, Valdeno Brito and Attila Abreu. Third across the line will be Rob Bell in the Attempto Racing McLaren. A good performance from them. Fourth across the line there, Sergio Jimenez. Nicky Katzberg had a great recovery drive to finish in 5th place. The Nissan of Craig Dolby is going to hold on to 6th position, just ahead of 7th place Marcus Fingerlock. Stefan Ortelli is going to come home in 8th place. 9th position, will it still be Frank Stippler? We'll wait and see, but a very strong performance from the BMW Team Brazil guys. They've had 1 win and 2 seconds, and Bernd Schneider's through. Bernd Schneider has found a way past Bononomi on the final lap. The experienced 50-year-old German is going to take the checkered flag ahead of Bononomi in the ISR Audi. And there is the class winner in Silver Cup, Jules Simkowiak. Second in Pro-Am is the 888 BMW of Joe Osborne and Lee Moll. But what a drive all day really from Laurens Vanthoor. In 2 races they've won by a cumulative 40 seconds. 25 seconds in race 1, 15 seconds in race 2. Really special stuff from the number 1 WRT Audi. They're so good in the pit stops, and Vanthoor is really turning into something else. As John was saying earlier, some of the drivers just can't really figure it out, how he's going so quickly. Because we have such a strong field here in the Blancpain GT Sprint Series. But none of them are strong enough to stop Laurens Vanthoor, it seems. As they make their way now to speak to John. A hug with Robin Freins. As they congratulate everyone. And we saw the Laurens Vanthoor pointing to the picture of J.G. Malvoy, one of the founders of the WRT Belgian Audi Club. And he died recently, and thoughts are, well, this win dedicated to him by Laurens Vanthoor. The pictures of Malvoy on the side of the car. But we can now hear from our race winner, Laurens Vanthoor. He's down with John.
Laurens Vanthoor, Robin Freins, just utter domination. Where is it coming from?
Well, like I said before, I think we have a great team with WRT. It's known that they won I don't know how many championships, and great pit stop, great engineers, great mechanics. They destroyed the car and they repaired it in a couple of hours. And together with Robin, I think we are a really good team, and that's the way I want to see it for the rest of the season.
Well, Robin, we were speculating in the commentary booth. You're new to GT racing, but you've won in everything you've raced in. How long is it going to be before you put your teammate under the cosh?
Well, hopefully soon, but he's too quick for me at the moment. I still need to learn a lot. GT is another world. Actually, I start from scratch again, even though I won quite a lot of championship. But I have a roof on me now, and well, we start from here.
Laurens, we noticed that you made a dedication to one of the team owners. He passed away recently. Anything you can say?
Yeah, this one is for him. We call him Mr. President, and we are his penguins. People who know him know what I'm talking about. And J.G. Malvoy was a very important person in my career. He helped me a lot, and it's sadly to see him go, but we must continue the work and do it for him.
I think he'd be very proud of both of you today. Well done.
Really strong performance from Vanthoor and Freins. Bruce Jones has joined me in the commentary box, and it was absolutely commanding, wasn't it, Bruce?
Commanding, so commanding, it looked effortless. So much action down the field. They've had no action at all weekend. Chasing the first race by Nicky Katzberg, but apart from that, just pulled clear.
Let's hear now from the second place men, Valdeno Brito and Attila Abreu. Great performance from BMW Team Brazil.
Valdeno, another great performance for BMW Brazil today.
Yes, better than we expect. We did sixth place at the qualifying. So if you tell me yesterday that you had 2 second place, I really maybe I would not believe, but we did a good job. The team did a very great job in the pit stops. You know that it's very important. We passed the McLaren in the pit, so I'm very happy. Last year, again, last year we lost the second position, and now 2 second place. But I want to dedicate that position to my mother. My mother is again with some healthy problems in Brazil. Now she's in the UTI. Mom, that's for you.
Well done, Valdeno. Attila, it is your birthday. We pointed that out earlier in the day. That's not a bad birthday present, second overall.
I would say really good present. We finished second in the first race. The Audi was disqualified, and right now we finished second again. We improved the car. I got a little bit more confident with the pace of the car, understand a little bit better. I was able to follow the car number 1 in the beginning. After that, lose a little bit the pace. The McLaren was faster. As soon as he arrived, I just let him go to don't lose so many time fighting with him, because we know that our team is really good on the pits, and probably we had a chance to overtake him on the pit stop. So that happened, was really good. And now Valdeno made it really good. He made like all the laps between 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's it. Let's commemorate. Let's celebrate my birthday.
Well, celebrate the birthday and enjoy many more successes in the future. Many well done. Thank you.
Great to hear from those two, and it's interesting they got promoted to second place, because that meant that the Nissan got promoted to third. And I was walking around the paddock and someone came up to me and said, we need to find out, how do we get our trophy? We deserve a trophy now. There's got to be a third place trophy somewhere. The third place trophy in this race will go the way of Rob Bell and Kevin Estre. It really was a superb drive from Kevin Estre and Rob Bell, and it looks as though they may have headed up to the podium already. There is the award. I think that's for the pit stop challenge for the WRT squad, taking victory there. And there's a nice €2,000. And also a very commanding race win was the other good result of their very, very fast pit stop indeed. Yes, I don't think we're going to hear from Kevin Estre and Rob Bell, unfortunately, because they have disappeared off to get ready to go to the podium. But a beautiful day at Brands Hatch and a beautiful race. And it was a shame for the Attempto team, new to the series, and pit stops are something that is quite unique actually in GT racing to the Blancpain series.
Yeah, and I think it's so sad that Kevin Estre's drive wasn't better rewarded, but as Rob Bell said to me, Kevin said to me actually, it's early in the season, we are still learning our way, but those lessons will be learned as long as each time they're going forward. But we saw on the podium WRT receiving the trophy for the Czech there for the best pit stop, and that's why they're the top team at the moment. Yep. One of the reasons. Yeah,
absolutely. They've been in this series a long time. Here's a look at the results after 42 laps of racing around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Robin Freitz and Laurens Vanthoor winning by 14.1 seconds over the BMW Team Brazil car of Attila Abreu and Valdeno Brito. Kevin Estre and Rob Bell completing the podium. Fourth place for Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez in fifth place. Great drive from Nicky Katzberg to fight his way past the Phoenix Audi and then the MRS Nissan towards the end of the race. Sixth place for the Nissan of Walkinshaw and Dolby. They'll be pretty pleased with that considering how Nogaro went for them. Raquelme Nortelli finished 0.3 of a second ahead of Meyer Manhoff and Winkelhock, because Meyer Manhoff and Winkelhock got given a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. James Nash and Frank Stippler finishing in 9th, with Alexei Kadachev and Bernd Schneider completing the top 10, which means that Bononomi and Salaquadra are the last point scorers in the pro class. Olivier Lombard and Jules Sinkoviak completing the top 12. Then in 13th place we had Marco Asma and Alexei Vasiliev. They finished second in the Pro-Am class. It was Bernd Schneider who won the Pro-Am. Enzo Eid and Christopher Meese have had a real day to forget. The Fjordbrack brothers finishing in 15th position ahead of Lee Mole and Joe Osborne. And then we lost the Marco Seefried, Norbert Siedler, Rinaldi Ferrari in the very early stages, seemingly after some sort of suspension problem at Paddock Hill Bend, because they just got spat off into the gravel. So onto the top step of the podium come Robin Freitz and Laurens Vanthoor, victors in the main race, and by my calculations that's going to send them to the top of the championship. The perfect weekend, a pole and 2 wins. Second place for Valdeno Brito and Attila Abreu for BMW Team Brazil. They're very happy with that. And then third place for Rob Bell and Kevin Estre. Good to have an Englishman on the podium at the United Kingdom round of the Blancpain Sprint Series. And there's the WRT Audi representative coming out onto the top step. And it's time for the Belgian national anthem. Top of the podium for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz, and it's nice to hear Robin Freitz sort of admitting that I don't have the pace of Laurens Vanthoor at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of drivers cross over to GT3 cars and find them much harder. Some take a whole season to get a real grip of them, and then once they've got there, they understand what they needed to do. But it's not always an instant change, but a driver of that calibre will always get to the top.
Third place trophies for Kevin Estre and Rob Bell. Second place trophies for Valdeno Brito and Attila Abreu. Such a great team atmosphere in that BMW Team Brazil squad. But their first main race trophies of the season, Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz hold their trophies aloft on the top step at Brands Hatch. They move to the lead of the championship as we head to the next round in Zolder in June. They all hold their trophies aloft, and a really strong performance. And now it's time for the champagne on the podium. They were posing for some photos, well, the Brazilians were posing for some photos, but the McLaren boys got bored with all that, and that is a proper champagne spray on the podium. Robin Freitz over the moon, his second victory. Now it's still that 100% record, isn't it?
Yep. The stumble at the first hurdle at Nogaro. Sorry to bring that up again, Robin. But then here at Brands Hatch, a circuit he's never been to before, and he absolutely has delivered. And after the champagne, using the Czechs perhaps, Stefan Rettel, as a barricade to keep the champagne off him, heading out, because of course it's not just trophies in Blancpain, but good Czechs too.
You know you're in an all right place when you can use a Czech as like a shield. I wouldn't be able to do that. As he comes out onto the podium to hand over the prize money, which is one of the many, I suppose, differentiating factors with the Blancpain Sprint and Endurance Series, the prize money that is available. And it's 30,000 euros for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz on the top step. A really strong performance. And Valdeno Brito saying, no, this isn't going to you. We're taking this home. And then 10,000 euros for Rob Bell and Kevin Estre in third place at the end of that.
But isn't it great? 3 different manufacturers on the podium, yep, and many more queuing up behind. I think this mix is just getting better and better in Blancpain.
Yeah, absolutely right. As they depart the podium then, Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz. So Middy's heading out onto the track here at Brands for one of the support races in a day that has been very well supported actually here by the fans at Brands. A good attendance for this doubleheader Blancpain Sprint Series. Robin Freitz and Laurens Vanthoor move to the top of the championship. They've picked up the maximum 34 points this weekend. They're now 1 point clear of their Monegasque teammates Stefan Ortelli and Stefan Rakelmi. Max Martin and Dirk Muller, after their one-off appearance in Nogaro, are still in third. Attila Abreu and Valdeno Brito are fourth in the championship after a strong weekend here at Brands Hatch. Bell and Estre completing the top 6. Here's a look back at the main race then. It was a great start from Robin Freitz, holding the lead of the race. Then a great attack as well from Kevin Estre. Looked as though he might get through into second place, past the BMW Team Brazil cars in front, but it wasn't quite to be. He would then have to work hard to get past them a little bit later in the race. It was reasonably clean, a bit of a spin for the Bentley coming out of Druids, but apart from that, it was all nicely done. This was the view from the back of the 333 Rinaldi racing car of Marco Seifried, who started the race. Then that was the spin from the 83 car of Olivier Lombard, lost it all by himself. And then here was what we think looks like a mechanical problem for Marco Seifert, because he seemed to be pretty much through the corner. It then suddenly snapped away from him the other way, and then they retired that Ferrari 458 from the race.
They came back in, they thought it was a puncture. He went out, did one lap, brought it back in, the car put in the garage. So I'm sure Marco has no worries. It was not a puncture, it was something else.
Then we saw Kevin Estre make a move to get past the first of the BMW Team Brazil cars. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff and Albert von Turnen-Taxis were having a great little squabble. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff pushing the limits, and for that, in the end, the Phoenix team would get a drive-through penalty and a 5-second penalty. Then Kevin Estre made another move to get past the 77 car of Attila Abreu and up into second place. But at the pit stops, it was a slow pit stop from Attempto Racing. So as a result, the 55 car would drop back, but not before entertaining us a little bit. Great stuff from Kevin Estre, pushing really hard on the exit of Sterling's, and then when the McLaren came out of the pits, it was behind the two Brazilian BMWs. There were still battles going on. This was a great move from Simkowiak, going up the inside of the 74 ISR car of Thomas Fjordbach, and then towards the end of the race, the battle was on for 10th. Bernd Schneider trying to force his way through, but just unable to do so.
This was an absolutely brilliant battle with Nicky Katzberg grabbing the moment when it was presenting itself, a battle ahead of him, and he used that momentum, got on out of Surtees really quickly, and look, the move, would he make it stick before Hawthorne? It's a fearsome corner, and just enough to hold on.
Absolutely, and then he pounced up the inside of the Nissan as well, going into Graham Hill Bend. While all that was happening, Robin Freitz and Laurens Vanthoor cruised home to take victory and the lead of the championship in the Blancpain Sprint Series. From myself, Jack Nicholls, John Watson and Bruce Jones, thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the 7th of June in Zolder, Belgium.